evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Boy, do we have a great show for y'all. We are going to be covering two really weird cryptids, actually, out of Pennsylvania tonight. And we have some remote viewing data. Barry Littleton tasked me with two blind coordinate remote viewing targets, and they ended up being the Albatwitch and the Squonk. And, we've covered the Albatwitch here on the channel a long time ago, not the Squonk. The Squonk is very sad, y'all. He's a little crying cryptid, and he's full of tears. He's really cute. Actually, he's kind of ugly, but but we're going to get into those. The remote viewing data for one of them tells me 100% that it is real. The remote viewing data for the other one, I'm not so sure. Okay, so you guys are going to get to see the process tonight. We're going to go over all the data. We're going to go show you guys some pictures and get into the history of these things. It's going to be really fun. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And if you missed, what is yesterday's show, please go check that out as well. We covered the Draco reptilians yesterday. And yes, be sure you turn on your psychic muscles, y'all. Start working those things out, because we're going to need to defeat the bad draconian reptilians one day. Okay, right now it starts today, y'all. I need my army of psychic spies and psychic soldiers. Okay, and so get ready, y'all. And okay, if you guys would like to check out my work, everything that I'm doing, wherever I'm going to be speaking at an event, please go over to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. Y'all can find all of my shows over there and my social media links, all the podcasting platforms where you can find me. It's all over there. So y'all go check that out. Also, the data is posted. I'm not sure if I got all the data in there, but I got all the information, as much as I could squeeze in, into my Patreon tonight. I will have it all uploaded before the end of the night tonight over there. But all the data for tonight's show and stuff, for all of these remote viewing targets I do, it's all on my Patreon, y'all. So it's a great way to support the channel, a great way to support my work. And you can also get some inside information in all of the entire presentations that I do for you guys here or over my Patreon. Okay, so thank you to all my members. Y'all rock. Also, I do have a shop. I believe it's still on sale. It's called Word Woman Goods over on Etsy. So thanks again for your support. Okay. Well, let's get to our show tonight, y'all. I see, boy, that chat is always popping, y'all. It's always popping. We have the best chat on the internet, by the way, and so y'all make it possible by being here. And thank you to my mods tonight for being here. All right, so the Albatwitch and the Squonk are two of Pennsylvania's most fascinating and elusive cryptids. The Albatwitch is a small man-like creature which supposedly lived in the woods area along the river shore around Columbia, Pennsylvania. Their name is short for apple-snitch, and they are reputed to have a taste for apples and would oftentimes steal apples from picnickers, occasionally even throwing them at startled people. The creature was often seen in trees, coming down only to find food, and the legend also says that the Albatwitches either became extinct or they were driven nearly into extinction in the late 1800s. Now, some people say that these things are gone. Other people claim that they're still seeing them out there. They do sound like a small Sasquatch, if you ask me, maybe Ewok size. But let's get into the Squonk. Okay, the stories of the Squonk, I think it's Squonk. They originate from the early 20th century in the hemlock forest of Pennsylvania. The Squonk is a small pig-like animal with an ugly appearance. It features loose, bumpy skin with warts all over it. It was often seen traveling alone through the dark hemlock trees and weeping softly to itself. Its cries leave behind a tear-stained trail, a little breadcrumbed path through the forest. And when frightened or cornered, the Squonk dissolves completely into a puddle of its own tears. Some stories even mention saltwater bubbles forming where it once stood, as if the animal's sorrow becomes its escape mechanism. Now, but the Squonk, that couldn't be real, right? Well, I don't know. Barry Littleton did task me with the squonk and the Albatwitch as 2 separate remote viewing targets, and we have some really fascinating data. We're going to cover the Albatwitch first today, though, and of course, I have my good buddy Barry Littleton here in the studio, and you guys can find him over on his YouTube channel. It's called Barry Littleton, and his Patreon as well. He is a wealth of knowledge and a wonderful researcher. Okay, so please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? Thanks for having me. Boom. Hey, I appreciate this. And this is, if anybody ever wanted to see us doing something that was put together real quick and we just did spontaneously, this is one of them. And I think it'll be a neat one. And I appreciate you and your audience. I've got doing a few sessions with a lot of people lately, so it's been really a great experience. And I've been, as you know, under a little bit of personal stress right now, and I don't have a lot of time to do social media right now. So all the stuff we do is super cool, and it's a great distraction of relevancy.
Yes, it is. Well, it's fun. We have a really good time doing this. We're not just doing this. I don't know. Everybody does something for a different reason. You know what I mean? And you and I do this because we love it. It's fun. We've got the tools. We got the resources. Let's make it work. Let's figure some of these mysteries out. And I think we make a good team, Barry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree. And thank you for that. I could not agree more. And it's somebody hit me up and was saying, well, I've been watching you and Jessica Jones on her channel for years. And, it's when it dawned on me, I was like, gosh, that is absolutely correct. It's been years we've been working together now, putting out material, whether people it's been known or not.
That's right.
So, pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Shocked to see the number of videos that I even have on my YouTube today. I had a friend that was like, hey, you've got, I forgot how many thousands of videos I have. I was like, man, I didn't even realize I had that many on my channel. I'm Barry. That's wild. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Congratulations too. It's it's a nice piece of work, on both ends. So
it is. I'm thinking one day people are going to look back. They may not appreciate it now, but one day maybe somebody will appreciate it. Just kidding. People do appreciate it.
There are a few that do, and there are those that are listening. And I was even unaware because one of the clients I just had, and I was like, oh, did you find me on Jessica's channel? And they were like, no, I've been following you since Kelly or such and such way back then. I was like, whoa. And I'm unaware that there actually are people that listen and follow me. I just don't I don't really pay a lot of attention to it because I'm all tripped out, brother. All paranoid. But yeah, so it's been very cool though, and the fact that it helps people, if nothing else, stress relief is very cool. And I take it seriously too. So. Well,
we got to take these things seriously when we're talking about squonks and Albatwitches. It's very serious.
Oh yeah, this is a little bit. Some of the stuff you throw at me sometimes, oh man. But yeah, this one's interesting. And might I say that we haven't done a cryptid in a while. Whether it was remote viewing or your other show, we just not done a cryptid in a while, I don't think. So this is 2 of them that are just very interesting, I think. And the reasons for wanting to look at them and see if first is are they both real? That's always my first question. You know what I mean? Can we get enough data out of it to sustain that them being actual creatures or beings or phenomenon, whatever the case is? You know what I mean? I think this time this process was interesting concerning these 2.
It was. Well, and what you're referring to is I had a really tough time with one of these getting any kind of data that made sense off of it. And that is usually if there's a target. When we're looking into stuff like this, if it's probably, I'm not going to say this isn't real, but if I'm having that hard, if I do the target more than once and there's just nothing coming out of it that makes any sense, that's a good indicator that's probably may not be real. What I mean? Yeah, could be.
Hogwash.
Yes.
Fabulation.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's actually surprising of the 2 targets. I thought that maybe the other one that I think is real would be the fake one, but it's not.
Exactly.
Right?
I consider the one that you got the most information on by far the weaker target. But now it's made me completely reevaluate what I was picking up. You know, I'm like everybody else. I pick stuff up, you know, and some I'm pretty accurate. But this was a little bit different. And I'm like, man, what if I'm off or something? I'm thinking about all the people right now that give these BS predictions that never happen, all this information that means nothing. I don't know, who cares? At this point, we might as well go for this one and check it out, because I think it's some interesting things, considering that a lot of these beings that I think we're dealing with, again, they come from consciousness and they're a part of consciousness, and people can't accept some of that. We still need the nuts and bolts and physical beings, and is Sasquatch animal, is it not, is it that type of thing. But we have to understand that some of this is conscious phenomenon, and we're conscious beings of awareness, beings of luminosity and consciousness.
Yeah, you know, it's not just flesh and bone or whatever. You know, it's like with the debate within the Bigfoot community. It's like, you know, X factor, interdimensional, or is it just flesh and bone? Well, it's all of it. It's all of it. I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Tater Log. Y'all would never know that I used to be called Tater Log. Can y'all imagine that? And this is my friend Tater. What's up, Preston? Thank you for being here. He's in the Caribbean now. Not Caribbean. He's in the Bahamas now. And so thank you for being here, Tater. I appreciate you. It's an old school friend. Okay.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know, something you just said reminds me of, you know, like I said, I was talking Star Wars. People was wanting to talk Star Wars. So I was joking about Jedis on that live. But, you know, it was Return around The Empire Strikes Back. Yoda said something to Luke. He kind of poked him. He goes, not this crude flesh are we're luminous beings. And that's when he went on talking about, you know, the Force and other things. Not this crude flesh. But that's really kicking it. That, you know, and the way they describe the Force is the same as people use for source, creator, all those terms, if you really think about it. Anyway, so.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about this
Albatwitch.
Alberts. You know, what's interesting is that cryptid was really introduced to me years ago as what was called tree sprites.
Oh, really?
And, you know, I had my Native American friends that told me that it was because I had gotten an obsession about these fireflies I had seen in the Flint Hills. We've talked about that, and they were not normal at all. And my Native American friends that I did those incredibly intense sweat lodges with, boy, we want to what does that mean? What's the matter with y'all? Open up that damn door. But anyway, yeah, I never did it though. But anyway, but point being, they kept saying that those things I'd seen that were sprites, a type of sprite. That's not a term outside of the cola that I'd ever heard for, the non-cola I'd ever heard before. You know what I mean? But that was different though than this type of sprites that they had explained that were like these tree sprites that sounded to me like to be like smaller Bigfoot type creatures. And I've always had an interest in that, you know, and going to like some of the reports that are becoming more popular now. If you start checking out the ones in Peru, especially contactee reports, they're talking about seeing these smaller Sasquatch on board craft. Okay.
They're like Ewoks.
And like the whole race. You know, I've had a couple of clients that have described these beings and having encounters with these beings. And, you know, I asked that, Jessica, I say, do they look like the Ewoks? They'd be like, no, these beings look very serious and their faces look old, kind of. In terms of, you know, the Ewok are little cuties and all that. Not these beings. They don't look vicious, but they're very serious and matured. You know what I mean? So they're not quite like Ewoks. I find this all stuff very interesting. And I wanted to see if this tree sprite or Albatwitch or Albatwitch or whatever it's called in Pennsylvania had anything that's similarities to in Africa what's called the Tokoloshi. I find it doesn't, but we'll talk about it, okay? Anyway, I'll shut up now.
Okay.
Let you go into it.
Wow. You know, we're talking about the Ewoks. I'll never forget. I think they were on like Good Morning America. They had some Ewoks, and they started drinking margaritas in the morning, and they got intoxicated on that show, and it was really funny. Y'all ever get a chance? Go check that out. I think it's Good Morning America, I think, and they had drunk Ewoks on there one morning. It was hilarious. Okay, anyway.
I think one of those actors, his name was Warwick Davis. And he also plays the Gold, the leprechaun. I think he
God.
said that those suits were horrible. He couldn't breathe in them or something. I think that was him. Anyway, neither here
They
nor
probably,
there.
yeah, I know. Anytime you're in a costume like that, it's going to be terrible, especially if you're claustrophobic. But Larry Sharp, thank you for being a member of the Hunt Club for 25 months. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you, and I hope you're
Take
doing
that
good.
over the Star Trek Next Generation uniforms, and that'll come
Yeah,
up
right?
actually. It'll actually, I would never. Anyway, yeah.
Oh man.
Hey, you want to know what actually? I'll show you a picture that gave me a reason to actually want to look into this thing with the Albatwitch as well.
Yeah, sure. Well, I
Okay.
have some pictures too. Here, you pull yours up. I'll go ahead and show the audience in case you're curious. Kind of what they describe this as. It's kind of like it looks like a lanky, skinny Bigfoot. That's what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And also here's one that looks way scarier. This looks like a gugway kind of, but it's supposed to be tiny. Okay, so they're supposed to be smaller than that. But that's
See, it's illustrations like that that made me wonder if they were connected to the Tokoloshi.
It does look like that.
And you know, and I know you've talked about this before, and it was not, but you didn't RV it, and I watched that show, and you know, it was being connected to demonic activity. This one was,
Yeah.
but in actuality, that's the Tokoloshi as opposed to these beings. These beings are not really, when you start really looking into it, connected to as much the evil thing. Now, supposedly they'll throw apples at people, but I mean that's hardly, you know, or at least the cores, they throw cores at people. That's hardly major assault, but I don't know, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, getting hit with an apple could hurt. Okay, it can hurt. It can knock somebody out. Shoot, I bet. So.
Yeah, and you know, I was also doing comparisons too, like to these are these also similar to orang pindak? You know what I mean? They're shorter too in stature.
And the devil monkeys too, Barry.
They got the tails. They look a little different. The devil monkeys. They look a little different. They look like more baboon like with those tails. But yeah,
y'all, Barry, I'm gonna go down to the Bahamas with my friend Preston, and we're gonna go find mermaids. Apparently, okay, Preston, I'm taking you up on that, buddy. Tater, sign me up. I want to go look for mermaids. He said there's mermaids down there, where he lives. So we're doing it. Okay,
in that area, they say that
we're doing it. We're actually gonna. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Oh, let's pull this up.
Okay, that is that's terrible. That what gave me an interest in this. You know, I talk about this cat all the time. I've got a book here somewhere. That book he actually gave me, and it's interesting how he approaches things. But when talking, you know, one of the things he tells me is how when he discovered the Sasquatches on his property that he got down in Oregon or wherever, that it was his neighbor came over and started arguing and say, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot you or something. You take my apples again." Or you keep going into my orchard. And he said he'd been doing nothing of the type. Then he started having problems. And he had described however it came about it, watching the Sasquatch, one shaking these apple tree viciously, or a couple of them, and these others run out and grab the apples and take off.
Ooh,
and he started looking at me. He's an interesting cat, man. He starts looking at me. He's saying, "Barry, are you familiar with the whole thing when the monkeys eat on the islands, eat the fermented apples, and they're falling over and they get all wasted?" I was like, "Actually, yeah, I do." And he said, he's like, "Barry, I think they're doing something similar with those apples. They're making something with it. They're doing something beyond just eating them." That's what he said. It was interesting. I started thinking about it. I don't know. But anyway, when it comes to that very part of the Sasquatch phenomenon relating to him and the tree sprites or Albatwitch or whatever, there's the similarities there. That's all. But it gives me an interest enough to go down that path. You know what I mean? Just check it out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's really cool. Tom Powell comes up quite a bit, doesn't he? I got to meet him. I'm going to have to get him on the show, Barry.
Yeah, that'll be a good one there. It's pretty cool. He's every now and again I meet somebody that is life changing, like I may have been for somebody else. He's one of those individuals. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Fantastic. Okay, well, I guess let's get into this Albatwitch thing because I mean it's got some It's got some substance behind it. There were a lot of encounters back in the 17 and 1800s, apparently, by lumberjacks and people that were out, chopping wood and stuff, and just doing lumberjack stuff. Okay, they would. Well, actually, the squonk was with lumberjacks too. Okay, the lumberjacks were seeing the squonks too. Okay, and so dispose of them. But let's get. Maybe I should pull up a website. Let me see which one's best. We'll pull this one up actually, because this one has some newspaper articles with it. So hold tight, y'all. It'll take me 1 second to get this pulled up and share my screen. We're gonna go to Cryptid Wiki. Okay, I know you guys are. If you're into cryptids, you're probably into Cryptid Wiki. It's a good resource for.
I don't think I've seen that one yet. I'm behind the times. Cryptid Wiki. Okay.
Cryptid Wiki. Yes.
It's not related to David, is it? This bad joke.
Oh man. Well, we ended up not getting a Wikipedia warning on the reptilian show yesterday. I was shocked. I had put money on it. We were going to get a cryptid.
Now that you said that, you'll get one now.
Yeah, probably. I'm figuring out. I'm figuring out what this picture is. Yeah, this is a picture. Let's see. I mean, it's kind of a terrible picture, but this is what they say the Albatwitch is right here, a modern day photo of it. So I'm assuming that's its face at the top, and the white stuff. Are those flowers or a baby doll? I don't know what that is. It's kind of weird, but that's supposed to be evidence of a current picture. Okay, there's also newspaper articles here. Let's pull this up. An Albatwitch. How do you even pronounce this? I say Albatwitch.
Albatwitch, isn't it?
I don't know. The Albatwitch hunt featured the corn bake held by the boys of the Lancaster YMCA. So the boys of the YMCA went out hunting for the Albatwitch. They didn't find it, but they did complete a watermelon swim. Okay, so that's good.
Boys at the YMCA. I guess so. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's see. Here's Camp Kiwanis in full swing. I mean, I think that it's just they probably just use this Albatwitch hunt. I think they probably did this just for fun. Because you remember they're supposed to be gone by now, right? They're supposed to have been extinct. I think they went into extinction at the end of the 1800s, or went into some kind of like an endangered. Not that they're an endangered species, but here's some.
I think aren't these things still being seen though?
They say they're still being seen. I have some casts to show you guys, some footprint castings, and they say those are Albatwitches, but there's a whole lot of cryptids in this area. Okay, there's a lot of known cryptids in these areas, including Dogman and Bigfoot. So could there be a crossing of an overlay of like a bunch of different cryptids out there? Yes, probably. But this is just another. Yeah, I don't think that has anything in it. They're saying that they were hearing roars coming from a camp. They have the Albatwitch Festival up there. Of course, that does look like a Bigfoot to me up there. And so they're having their first Albatwitch Festival. And of course, I mean, it's one of those local. I love local legends. It's kind of like Old Green Eyes up in Chickamauga. They have the Old Green Eyes Festival. It's kind of endearing for these locals up there. Everybody hears these legends, and I mean, it's got to be true. Oh Lord, I don't know what that is. Good grief. Okay, we're gonna quit looking at that now. Okay. All right. Well, let's see what they say on Cryptid Wiki here. The Albatwitch is one of several local legends in the area of Columbia, Pennsylvania. They speak of a creature called an Albatwitch. An Albatwitch is a small, about 4 feet tall, man-like creature that supposedly lived in the wooded areas. Their main area of residence seemed to be near Chickies Rock, a heavily wooded area. And along the banks of the Susquehanna River, about a mile or two north, the Albatwitches were also reported from wooded areas along the river's shore. They're named for a habit which they possessed, a bizarre common name short for apple-snitch, as they're reputed to have a taste for apples Legends speak of how the Albatwitches would oftentimes steal apples from picnickers, occasionally throwing them at startled people. And legends also record that the creatures often sat in trees, coming down only to look for food. And they say they either became extinct or driven to near extinction in the later years of the 19th century. Chickies Rock, where they live, has a tradition of strange sights and sounds. In the 1950s and 70s, a man-like figure was seen several times, and local legends also speak of sounds like the crack of a whip that was heard at night in the woods. And you can only wonder if these could be connected with the Albatwitch. And of course, they've had several Bigfoot sightings in the area, and a hairy humanoid in 1973 in Lancaster, about 10 miles east of Columbia. And let's see, a number of reports surfaced in York County. Now, York County, is this the same place where we had the big W? I did a show on that. It was allegedly, it was that picture. It was given to me as a remote viewing target. I think it was York County. No, that was South Carolina. It was South Carolina. It was York County, South Carolina, though. Okay. It says the Susquehannocks were a local tribe. Coincidentally, major evidences of their civilization, ruins of a village and burial grounds, were found at the base of Chickies Rock. So it has like a native indigenous like background, okay, up there. And they talk about the apples being real popular up there. I don't know. You guys can go check out your Pennsylvania history if you want. And yeah. So anyways, okay. So we're trying to figure out, is this real? Okay. Are these things real? I'm trying to find pictures for y'all. All right. Let me stop sharing. I
got a picture of something that I had another one of the Tokalishi. Sorry, it's so small. I try to make it bigger, but that's just the African one. But it is more of not just a trickster, but they're the ones that like certain tribe they sleep like above the ground on their beds to a certain degree because these things can't climb up onto the beds or something. And it's a whole deal going on with them. But I thought maybe that the tree sprites or Albatwitches were the same thing, but they're not. But this is the one that's more seems to be connected to quote unquote dark activity, evil, demonic, whatever. So just food for thought on that.
It looks kind of cute to me. It looks a little cute. But,
I've got another picture and it looks a little more almost apish like. It's supposed to be the ones done by eyewitnesses. So that one there seemed a little more.
Well, let's see. Ooh. Okay, let me. I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'm going to show some of the cryptids that are known to be in this area, and then we'll get into the remote viewing data for that.
Cool.
Squonk, Pennsylvania cryptids. Here we go. All right, let's just get an idea of what all we got going on out here. Okay, we have the Albatwitch up there at the top, Bigfoot, Dogman, giant snakes, the Ginwaggle. The Ginwaggle looks like a dogman with hooved feet. That's weird. Maybe it's a goat man. The Potter nondescript. That's weird. That thing in the middle, the Potter nondescript. The Rayston Ray. That looks like a Nessie or something, some kind of sea lake monster. The Squonk. We're going to get in the Squonk here in just a little bit. Thunderbird sightings and the Waterford Sheepman and the werewolves. They got werewolves everywhere. And where are the werewolves? They are everywhere. So there's a nice variety of cryptids up there. Some things I've never heard of before. The Potter nondescript. That is really weird. Okay. Well, okay. I think that's all the pictures that I had pulled up of this thing. There are castings, some foot castings. They say that they believe these are some of the Albatwitch. They look like Bigfoot casts to me. You know,
yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, I think those are Bigfoot.
Yeah,
they look like Bigfoot casts, y'all. So, But anyways, because I would think that these Albatwitches would be smaller than that. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing for like reference to figure out what the size is of these things. I mean, they may be quite little. I don't know. They don't. They look bigger than what I would imagine. That looks bigger than my foot. Okay, and I got big feet. A lot chubbier than my foot would be. But anyways, okay. Well, I don't know. What you want to get into some of this data for this thing?
Go for it. Go for it.
I wonder what the audience.
I think we covered a lot about what it is. So
I did. Okay.
Or is not.
What we're going to get into with this data now. This is how remote viewing works. As far as these targets go, we're doing like the Ingo Swan methods. Like we don't know for sure if this even exists. Okay, but we're going to take a stab at it. Barry gave this to me as a coordinate remote viewing target. I did it twice. Okay, I went back and revisited it because the data was so weird on this, and so I'm just going to go through the data. I mean, it may or may not make any sense to the audience. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, and there were really not that many distractions. Maybe the first target that I had a couple of, somebody outside started blowing leaves when I was remote viewing, and I was like, that could always be a factor. That's why I wanted to do it again a couple days later. And so here we go. The second time I did it was just as odd, but let's go. Okay. So here's some of the data.
Is this the first time or second?
This is the first time I did it. Yes. For the Albatwitch. And I didn't know what it was, y'all. It's blind target. Floating, persistent, interrupted, blue, cold, worthy, dissatisfied, firm, curvy, and curved, or something like that. Curvy and curved. These are some of the words that I wrote down. Okay. First festival, natural conjecture. I don't know. Amount, surmount, ice, firmament, filament, legal, surface level, wires crossed and rewired. I mean, that has nothing to do with what this thing is supposed to be. Okay. And, normally we probably would just like not even discuss this, y'all, but we kind of, Barry and I agreed that we want the audience to see what happens when these things probably aren't real. Okay. This is what happened. I only have 2 pages, so y'all don't worry. It's really bad, actually. So the second page. I mean, this is what happens when these targets probably aren't real. Okay, this
BS. Just say it, BS.
BS. Okay. Well, I don't know because the second time I did it, I mean, it's still kind of weird. But listen, the Squonk, y'all hold your horses because the Squonk one's good. David is really good. I think that one's real. Okay, so this one I wrote down: inventive, round, circular, oval, research and invention. So that could actually kind of point to like, it's probably somebody researched this and made it up. Okay, but research, invention, shop, imprint, energetic. Imprinted. I was picking up on some weird data, like some stuff that you and I had talked about where I talked about how a leaf had been cut and like it still had the energetic imprint. Like that was in my data. I don't know. That was just in my data, y'all. So, but anyways, there's some more stuff there. I'm not going to bore y'all with that one. And so through this first target, I don't believe that this, maybe it just didn't work out. Maybe they were real and the data is just really bad, but I don't think so because I did it again. This is for the Albatwitch out of Pennsylvania, y'all. So let's get into this one. I only have 2 pages for this one too.
That's all right.
All right. So my sensory data. Did you want to say something, Barry?
No, I said no. You say no, just 2 pages. That's all right.
I only have 2 pages. Yes.
It's all
good.
For
the Albatwitch, this is the second go at it, y'all. Second go at it. This is my data. For my sensory data. Stealthy, hidden, smooth, black, worshipped, reverie, celebrated, shiny, sparkling, and sloped. That was my data, my sensory data. Now over on the other side, I was picking up on like a beach. I wrote beaches, Vanta black, darker than dark, Bennett Benu. Like, I mean, I thought I was seeing like a probe or like some kind of spacecraft or something, I think. Because I wrote, that's what I was kind of seeing. That's my analytic overlay. Glass, like end of an era, ancient artifact. I wrote down and something about like being fashion to win, and I was picking up on like archery and stuff. I mean, it was just archery. Archers get up in the trees, right? So I picked up on archer and archery, and those archers do get up in trees. I don't know if y'all have seen those pictures of the guys on the camo. They do real. There's this picture of the guy in really good camo, an archer pulling his bow back, his bow and arrow, and you can't see him like at all. Okay.
Don't they aim it like apples sometimes?
Oh yeah. Look, people used to daredevil. They put an apple on a girl's head and they shoot it with an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder how many people didn't make it through that trick. I'm just saying. But
So
yeah.
Keep going.
Continue. Okay. So that actually kind of puts us there a little bit, maybe with the archers and the archery, maybe. I don't know, because they are.
That's a stretch, Jones. That's a stretch.
I'm trying. I'm reaching really far here, y'all.
Yeah,
Because the data is just really odd, right? It's just kind of weird. So I wrote a team, bunched together, bundle, a swarm, limited edition. I was picking up on what I thought I was in outer space. Okay, that's what I thought this target was. Like I was picking up my analytic overlay is like stuff in outer space. Okay, but then I wrote Catalina, like Catalina wine mixers. So that's on here. It was all over the place, y'all. This data didn't make any sense. It still really doesn't make any sense for that. Now this is for the Albatwitch. This is goes at it. Goes at it. Is that how you say that? I took 2 stabs at it. Okay, and it was a womp 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 for both of them. Okay, so what do you think, Gary? I mean, you and I have done a lot of remote viewing work together, and how, first of all, this doesn't happen often, but when it does, what do you think about this?
Well, the first time I thought it might be, well, I've been under stress, maybe I screwed up the targets. You know what I mean? That wouldn't normally happen, but since I've been a little stressed, maybe it's a possibility. So I made sure everything, was cleaned for the second time, and it came up total crap still. So that's a pretty good indication that where there's smoke, there's fire. And it was interesting, because we've done some of these before, and they'll, something similar will happen to where it'll indicate that it's just not a real event, a real thing. You know what I mean? Or even if it's like a holographic projection or something, we'll get something more sustaining than what we had here on this. So that's kind of what it, spider sense was going off immediately. I was like, oh no. I was thinking, man, I tried to clean up those, the numbers and everything. I was like, they shouldn't have been contaminated or anything, but I had to double check. Maybe it was me, but self-doubt always kicks in. But now it's just BS. That's what it was. I was walking through BS without my galoshes on. That's what it was.
Nonetheless, even if it was real, if they really did exist, or if they didn't, whatever the Albatwitch is, it could have been something that was made up, and maybe it was misidentified, something different. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was just people were seeing something else, or juvenile Sasquatches or something.
It sounds like an urban legend to me.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why you're out in space. The space of nothingness. That's what that is.
I read the void, Vanta Black.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
And some of that I think you're seeing is just the kind of conspiracy, the tall tale itself. I think that's some of what you're describing, seeing also coming from someone's mind, being, that type of a thing. So anyway, but it's good to find out that, most likely that's one of the BS cryptids. So
maybe so. I don't know.
Well, the odds are against it now.
Yes, in my opinion, okay, and that's just through the data, because I want to believe all these things are real, okay, and I think to some degree, most of them are. A lot of them, I've been hearing about it, but for whatever reason, I just remote viewing wise, I couldn't get anything out of this one for that target. So it was just weird. It's almost embarrassing to even go over that data with the public, okay? But we're full disclosure here, y'all. Y'all want full disclosure? This is full disclosure. This is what happens when there's a target that may not be real, because there are targets that aren't real, okay? And that maybe it may have never existed. I want to know, is there anybody in the audience tonight who lives in Pennsylvania who has experienced one of these.
That's a
Okay.
good
Does
question.
anybody know a person who knows a person who's experienced these? Anybody? In the meanwhile, Bobby Singleton, thank you so much for being a member of the Hunt Club and for gifting 5 Cryptid Hunters memberships. You are the sweetest. I appreciate you so much. That is very, very kind. I did put a brand new video up last night, or it came out, I think it was this morning. I shot it last night. But yeah, thank y'all so much for all your support. I appreciate you, Bobby. But yeah, let's see if the audience, if anybody does anybody have any experience with these? Ooh, the tulpa. You know what? This is good, Takayasha. Listen, you're talking about the tulpa. This next one has something to do with that, I think. Okay. And this is a good one. I was writing down words. I didn't even know what they were. I was hearing, like I was channeling when I was doing this remote viewing target for the squonk.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing down words. I did not know what they meant. They mean exactly what this is, like egregores and stuff like that. like all that's in the data, y'all. You know, it's hard to it's like hard to wrap your head around something being like a thought form or manifesting something, you know, out of like the tulpa as well, right? Don't they take like some clay or something and through thought manifestation and maybe a little magic or something?
That's what I was trying to remember what a tulpa was, or if that's similar to like a golem as far as like the figurines or something like that.
Yes. And I think this could be something very similar to that. But let's get into this. This is actually a pretty sad
I like
cryptid.
that movie, Puppet Master. The cats with the little head, the big old heads.
Oh my gosh! I actually got really sad when I was reading about this after, and I was looking at the data, and I was like, "This is real." My data was on point for this one. When I figured out what it was today, you told me, posted it on Facebook, and I was like, "Man, all right, let's get into this, y'all." I thought at first this was like a pig, a crying pig. Okay, but I think it's something different. Okay?
Oh, isn't that interesting? That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Why is that interesting?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think about, okay, first of all, I'm just realizing something. We haven't really talked about what this thing is. We haven't really mentioned it.
I've never covered the squonk on my show.
Okay, you want to tell everybody what it is real quick?
Yeah,
I think what we talked about was the Albatwitch, right?
Yes.
We didn't really say what this thing is.
I'm trying. Let me find the best website for it. Hold on. I have several. Like we can just pull up like the Wikipedia. Let's just do that. Screw it. Well, we're gonna look up wiki since they like to tag themselves onto my shows anyways. Let's just pull this up. I'm always getting in trouble. Okay. So this is it. It kind of looks like a wild boar or something here in these pictures in that drawing. This is the squonk. And let me zoom in so the audience can read this. So the first written account of the squonk is from a 1910 book called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumber Woods. Its provenance is described in the next written iteration in the 1939 book Fearsome Critters. This book has suggested that the creatures had migrated from deserts to swamps to finally settle in Pennsylvania. As logging camps were continuously moving in the early 20th century, this could explain their migration to Pennsylvania. And they say this is what it looks like. The squonk is of a very retiring disposition, generally traveling about at twilight and dusk because of its misfitting skin. It's covered with warts and moles. It is always unhappy. Hunters who are good at tracking are able to follow a squonk by its tear-stained trail. For the animal weeps constantly. When cornered and an escape seems impossible, or when surprised and frightened, it may even dissolve itself in tears. They say that later...
That is something I kept coming across again and again, is that it can dissolve or dematerialize itself in its tears. I mean, all the different accounts I was able to kind of see that was a consistent thing. I find that very interesting. Anyway, please keep going.
Oh, yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm pulling something else up for when we go over that.
You know, that implies is there an acid component to the tears or a sulfuric component? This is food for thought. You know?
Good question. Well, it said that later retellings claim the squonks are slowest on moonlit nights, and they try to avoid seeing their ugly appearance in any illuminated bodies of water. In addition to warts and moles, the creatures were given webbed toes on their feet. So they must be able to swim, okay? But the given species taxonomy of the creature is Lacrymocorpus dissolvens. It's made up of the Latin tear, body, and dissolved. And that refers to its supposed ability to dissolve when captured. That is just wild. And of course, there's like baseball teams that are named after this. There's also, you know, Steely Dan's track. Any major dude will tell you Genesis has a song. That album has a song called Squonk on it. And I don't know, it's on in book and all that. Okay, but that is the Wikipedia explanation for this. The fearsome critter. Let's see. I'll pull up another website here. Let's see. Let's get the habitat and behaviors of it.
You know, I find it interesting that all the accounts say that it cries because it's ugly. Maybe that's not why. You know what I mean?
Well, that's right. Yeah, because it's crying because it needs that water to dissolve, I guess. I don't know. That's weird. It's really odd. Well, you know, something else that I read, I don't know if I've got it pulled up here, but there's something else that I read about them where it was saying that the lumberjacks would be sad. And they said that some people said that these squonks were actually a manifestation of their imaginations, right? It was almost like I don't want to say a tulpa or something, but it was almost like all their emotions. It's almost like a poltergeist or something. Okay, I think that's what I was reading.
How heavy that you went there.
Mm-hmm.
That is excellent, my friend, because that's exactly where I'm going to go with this. Was going to go with this. I was debating, should we talk about it before or after the data? Okay.
Well, let's talk about it now, because actually in my data, I do have to say the word egregor came out of my data. And I'd heard that before, but I didn't really know what it was. But I heard that word and I wrote it down. It's in my data. Now, here, let's just go ahead. Let me skip over this. We're going to go straight to this real quick. Before you get into what you're going to say, let me look up the definition of an egregor, because that's in the data. Okay. I can't see. Okay, here we go. An egregor. Let's just click on this. An egregor. And it is... Okay, it's a concept in Western esotericism of a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from the collective thoughts and emotions of a distinct group of individuals. My God, it was in the data, Barry, on a blind target for this thing that they say is this. That's wild. It says in magical and other occult traditions, it is typically seen as having an independent existence, but in other kinds of esotericism, it is merely the collective mind of a religious community, either esoteric or exoteric. In the latter sense, this collective mind, the term collective entity, preferred by Rene Guénon, is synonymous with egregor. And in the apocryphal book of Enoch, the term referred to angelic beings known as watchers. Oh my gosh, this is wild. In other literary and religious works, the manuscript found in Saragossa have also made references to these angelic beings. Now they're calling these things angelic beings, egregors. That word was in my data, Barry. Okay. An independent angelic being, a watcher. I don't know. They say that not all angels are going to look beautiful. Some of them are going to look like warty little frog pigs. But not to say these are angels or anything, but I'm just saying.
That is what that's kind of what you're saying. This data is saying, or not the data. This information here is saying. Mm-hmm. I just saw that twice on there. Now they're being quoted as being angelic remnants. And you know, it's so fascinating to hear you bring this aspect to it. And first of all, good research on that this quick. Okay.
Of course.
Another thing would be what I picked up, okay, at the very beginning of all this. There's two things I picked up. And that's what's how I used to be reluctant to ever talk about this stuff, but it makes
Okay.
sense because it was on point. All right. And you know, often spirit, and we work together long enough now that you know that often spirit will communicate with me through entertainment segments or scenes or themes. Okay.
I get rap songs.
And
Yes.
yeah, that's right. That's right. The PE. The PE.
Dead Prez. It's always Dead Prez or the NWA. Something like
Chuck
that.
D there.
Yeah.
Little KRS-One. All right. But
Absolutely.
on this one, I started picking up. Okay, one is it's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation called "Skin of Evil." And what the Skin of Evil is, and I've got a picture of that pulled up there. That involved the shuttle Enterprise crashed, and on this planet there was this creature, okay, that had amazing psychokinetic abilities and other things. And this creature was called Armis, and it appeared to be, imagine this is like 87. It's a black pool, black tar looking substance, black goo basically, and then it can form into a humanoid deal you see there. And it was horribly cruel and evil, and it said that it was from a race of titans that had a technique that brought all evil within their species to the surface. And they could make this process so concise that they would bring this evil to the surface in their entire world, and it created this skin. And he said he was the skin of evil, and they dropped him on that planet and took off. And he was screaming at Picard saying, you know, anyone that sees them, they're so brilliant. Everyone talks about their great beauty and how wonderful they are, but they wouldn't be like that if it wasn't for me. And why I'm bringing this up, and the correlation that I have, okay, is that this being is one of those that is made from consciousness, but made from the quote-unquote morphogenic or morphogenetic field, as stated by Sheldrake and God, what's the name? Pretty good at breaking that down. Anyway, the morphogenic field, genetic field of humanity is what causes the manifestation of this. Like it's an earth. These squonks are earth projection, earth poltergeists, and it's that the fact they come from that field is why they're crying. That's what I'm picking up, and I think it's similar in the way that they're being produced, the way Armis here is being produced. Okay, now I'm gonna shut this one off. All right, and there's something else I want to show, and I'm just gonna cross-reference this. All right. You know what? I'm going to show this one first. All right.
Okay.
This is a group of beings that is represented and talked about in the Uranta book, and I find one of the things of this interesting when they describe what these beings actually are. Hold on, sorry. Might have screwed that up there. Oh, there it goes. Sorry. Oh man. Okay. Well, anyway. Okay. It's these I think I screwed up my deal. It's these midway creatures is what they're called, midwayers. And you've got primary midwayers and secondary midwayers. And how the midwayers are formed were that you have those non-physical beings on Earth that are like not just angelic, but also you've got the angelics, but you've also got those that came to Earth that were non-physical. You know, they talk about ancient aliens, but they don't always talk about the ones that were non-physicals that came here. All right. And then how, you know, they would mate with the beings that were already here that were non-physical. Here, I'm gonna see if I can pull this up this time.
Okay.
If I can get it back. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button and everything went totally wrong over here, man. It doesn't take much to throw me off.
Shout out to everybody in the chat tonight. Y'all are kicking butt, taking names, man. I'm so glad everybody's here tonight. I see some of my teammates up in here too tonight. Thank y'all for being here.
Can you see that?
Yes.
And I've actually got 3, and I may not pull them all, but we'll start with just that one at least. All right. And what that is just this is from the page in Uranta book. And it says, unlike the various orders of celestial beings who are assigned to minister on a planet, the midwayers live on an inhabited world. The seraphim come and go, but the midwayer creatures remain and will remain, albeit they're none less ministers. What they're saying is that they're basically inhabitants here on Earth. And you've got these primary ones that are the ones that were most non-corporeal, because you've got 2 non-corporeal factions that are mating with each other, okay? And making this order that they call secondary midwayers. And secondary midwayers, Jessica, they put in here like some of them are tricksters, some of them can become partially mortal. They're much closer to us. And when you start reading through the way that they describe them, it very much sounds like the jinn and that classification of partially inorganic beings. Let me see. Let me take that off. And I'll just throw one more of them up that's relevant, I think. Okay, here. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one. And that'll be the last one, because I'm too slow for this, sadly, but I think it's important nonetheless. So, all right.
Hey, Margaret, I'll check it out, y'all. I'm so sorry, y'all. If anybody sent me an email lately, I'm really sorry. I'm bad about getting those, checking those. So I will make it a point to go check those, y'all. Margaret, I will. Okay. Thank you for that.
Oh, that's not the right one.
Yeah, if anybody's ever got any weird pictures, like stuff of like weird stuff you want me to look at, just send it over to me. I will eventually get to it, and I will eventually write you back. Eventually. I promise. If y'all knew how busy I stayed, you'd understand. You'd understand why. I have a hard time getting back to everybody. But
okay, there it is.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Sorry about that. Okay. Oh gosh, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. Damn. Let me pull that down.
It's the same one.
It's so important to show this last one though.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna get into the squonk data in just a second, y'all. It is fantastic. I'm actually really excited about this. We had 2 targets, so it's actually 1 target. I did it twice. I did both of them. I did all of them twice. So there's we got a good bit of data on these. This one more closely resembles a cryptid, according to the data. Okay, definitely in the data. Now, I don't think these things were supposed to be violent or anything, right, Barry? They were just, what is the word, sappy? They were just always crying all the time.
Nothing, except for making people sad. I saw that.
It's like a big ball of sadness, y'all. And it just cries and stuff. How about while you're looking up that, I'm going to pull up a picture for the audience.
Okay, here it is. Oh, God, I finally got it. Okay.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, let me share it, and we're good to go. We're good to go. This is the last one. I apologize. I shouldn't have taken that long, but it's so much easier to see what the book is talking about instead of me just talking about it.
That's a good point. Moondog Davis says, emotional teens cause poltergeist. So do emotional women as well, young women. I know I did when I was young. I was young once, and when I lived in
back in the day,
when I lived in Atlanta at that haunted house, I believe that watching that vase slide across my table and then float into the air, I think that was me that did that. I don't think that was a ghost. I think that was me. It was some sort of a poltergeist. That's called PK abilities. Sometimes you can't help it, I guess, for some people. We're like real life 11s out there. I think anybody could do it. And I don't know. I don't remember the state of like my emotions at that time. Like, I don't know. I was wild and free back then. I know that. But yeah, that was alarming, waking up to watching an object floating through my room. So, have you gotten it, Barry? Should I show you?
Yeah, here it is. Here. You know, it's not the one I wanted to show, but just go with that one. I'm sorry. I clicked the thing and it went off, and it's all messed up now. So, anyway.
Hey, that's
you
great.
Can see that. Okay.
Yes,
that's the original part. So anybody wants to look up the book, it's paper 77 in there. And I was trying to pull up the one where it describes the primary and secondary groups. But what I believe is what we're dealing here, the skunk could be something, one of these, or it's something that's being created from the earth. Like I mentioned, one of these poltergeists or projections. When you remember, the earth is a living creature, and humans create poltergeists too. So why wouldn't earth? This could very well be one. And I think just the way it's crying is remnants of this. Does it come from the morphogenic field? Or is it one of these beings that is type angelic that is just sad to be here? You know, and that's the communication it's giving to humanity. The same way that I believe the black-eyed children were a warning against the nuclear war wow. Timeline. Yeah. Anyway. So sorry.
I mean, that's fantastic. Well, this is something that I don't ever hear. I don't hear about this very often. You know, this is stuff that not a lot of people talk about, I don't think. And I think that this is important. I think this is a wonderful target. The squonk, they're both great targets, but the squonk, this is just a whole other level right here. And and the data backs it up. The data backs it up. So
yeah, let's go into it if you want. Everybody knows what it is now. Sorry it took so long to pull that up, but the question is, I'm giving, did it come from what I'm seeing, the morphogenic field, and it's a poltergeist, a projection of Earth, or is it one of these excuse me, one of these midways, that the secondary midway creatures, what are the forms that they take to communicate with humanity? They don't just look like genies in bottles. Barbara Eden, you know. Maybe they sometimes appear like that. So anyway, you know, but it's, I don't know, when you've got saying that people will, I guess people were quote unquote hunting them, makes them sound much more physical, doesn't it? But I'm not so sure. That might be part of the urban legend part. So the data will be interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, let me pull up a picture. I want to show the audience of what some examples of what people say they look like. Okay, it's kind of sad, y'all. Here we go. Here's one. This is the one that looks like a pig, and I believe this is the most common description of it. Looking like a really sad pig. Look at those tears, man. So sad. Gosh, that's sad. Okay, so that is the kind of the overall general description.
That's incredible. I never saw any caricatures that looked like that. They didn't really look like pigs, the ones I saw. But I could see, I guess. So yeah, that's interesting. That's what you saw.
Actually,
so.
Here, there's more. Let's just look
there, those
here.
ones are more like it there. Yeah.
There's one that looks like a possum.
Yeah, no, not that one. The one with the
That's
wrinkles.
A possum skunk.
They're supposed to be all wrinkled and moldy, right? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you know what this reminds me of right here? It reminds me of what I think the tumor seal. The tumor seal. Barry, the tumor seal at Mel's Hole. Remember that one? The tumor seal?
Yeah.
What if that was one of these? What if that was like
That's interesting.
Seriously. For anyone who's not familiar, you know, Mel's Hole is that endless hole that was it Mel Waters? Was that his name? And called into Coast to Coast AM. Mm-hmm. And I guess the government got caught wind of it, and they went over and they seized his land and all that. There's that anomalous hole, and I think it was on the second hole because he found another hole.
You know, now that we know through the data that both you and Tanya got separately, that data implies that Mel's Holes operates like a Templar cylinder. Okay, that's time technology, dimensional technology. And it's based, I think, on the rotation of the Earth, is how that Templar cylinder works. So whatever happened when they lowered that sheep down into the hole, think about it. It went through some type of a dimensional transition. And was it in another dimension that thing was implanted with that seal? The tumor seal with the human eyes. And don't forget that seal jumped back off into they were going to kill it, but they didn't. It jumped back off into the hole. And in the past, people were telling Mel that thing was communicating with them through the AM radios. And it was telling them that ice that Mel and them had made was very dangerous.
The radiation ice.
The ice they lowered into the hole and then brought it back up, and it was smoking. And it sounded a lot like liquid nitrogen to me. It turned into liquid nitrogen, but it was glowing, is what he said. And, you know, they came and it sank that cabin, and the government came and took it. But that seal was telling the bass people through the AM radio that ice was very, very dangerous and that it could destroy our world.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at that
Just
sad
you
pig.
brought the tuber seal up, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, because it reminded me of that, some of these pictures, just because of the eyes and the sadness, the emotion that came off of it, Now, someone in the chat had just asked, why would anyone create something that sad, right? Well, this is from a thought form of a lot of sad, depressed people, I think, right, Barry? I mean, it would be something that would be created from someone that has just the most dense sadness, like just trauma and stuff, I would think. I mean, that's all I can think of.
Or just like I said, the morphogenic field of this planet. Think about it. If you're somebody or something creature, and that's what I'm saying, maybe it's not crying. Everyone says, oh, it cries because it's so ugly, it's so smoogly. Is that really what it is? Or it's because it's down here feeling that morphogenic field and it sucks. Think about it. If you're somebody, if you're from some, like, maybe not even a utopian civilization, but just even a density or a vibration that's much higher than this one, and you are from somewhere that's peaceful and wonderful and blissed out, you come here, you're gonna be like, my God. I've always said that when, I don't know if they still slap babies on the butt or whatever when they take that first breath, but when the child takes his first breath, they often scream. And Jessica, I'm sure it's because they were just seeing still on the heavenly realms, the higher realms, the non-physical realms, and they open up their eyes, they see the density of this place, and they go, oh my God.
Right.
And it's just a shock, you know what I mean? And then after that, people start poking and prodding, and your perception and awareness starts getting molded to adjust to this place. But that's just always been my theory anyway, that first scream is the trauma of seeing the physicality and density of this place.
Oh God. Yeah, put me back in. I don't want to come out.
Yeah. Waiter, check please.
I bet I was like that when I was born this lifetime, probably. But anyways. Okay. So let me do a little rundown of what they say the squonk is. Okay, so according to written accounts from the 20th century, it's a small pig-like animal, ugly appearance, featuring ill-fitting warty skin. I think I already read that, right? So it's mostly living out in the woods. They say that they are still seen out in the woods, especially around the Pocono Mountains and Mount Alto. These cold forested areas with their freezing temperatures and thick tree cover provide the solitude for a squonk that it craves. The animal is generally nocturnal. The alleged sightings occur during moonlit nights as it cries its way through the underbrush. Hunters from the American logging industry claimed to hear its cries echoing among the trees. Attempts to catch one usually ended in failure, thanks to the creature's watery exit strategy, where fossil bones dredged from lake bottoms might offer evidence of other cryptids. There's no such luck for the squonk. It leaves no trace other than its tears, allegedly. And so let's see. It's in terms of anatomy. It says that the squonk's webbed feet, misfitting skin, and tendency to shed slowly due to low self-esteem make it a unique addition to the monster roster. Okay, so it has webbed feet. It just looks like a mutt of all sorts of weird stuff, and so it avoids reflected light entirely. No surprise for an animal with all these warts and blemishes all over its skin. But the high plains and hemlock forest are full of tales of these things. And let's see, squonk just vanishes in a puddle. And I swear I read, it's not in this article that I have right here, but I read somewhere where people were saying that they believed it was the manifestation of sad lumberjacks, like people that were out in the fields away from their families. That it's like they would create these things.
There you go.
So
psychokinetic energy, morphogenic field there again, even amongst a few people. Another thing that I find a little bit comical, though, they talk about it seeing its reflection and tripping out. That sounds like, what is it, Mum Ra for the Thundercats could look at his own reflection and be tripped out. losing all his power.
Oh, maybe the winter blues. That's right. There's a lot of reasons to be sad out in the woods. Okay, sometimes I don't know. I don't really get sad out in the woods. I have fun in the woods, but you can imagine if you're having to back in the day, you know.
This planet, humanity, though, you look at how this planet's being tortured. That's pretty sad. If you're somebody adjust to that, you know, it's really bad. You know, like those people that are really true deep empaths. Like, you know, somebody had lunch with a real good friend a couple of weeks ago, and during this lunch, they just began crying, and they were saying that they have a great life. They're pretty cool, and they're not like depressed or nothing, but they're feeling what's the war times on the planet and feeling the death, really tuned into that level, you know, where they're hypersensitive, that type of a deal. And, you know, I've met other empaths like that too. And that's the word empathic is being kicked around so much new age like these days. When you get those people that are so tuned in to the striations of the earth and the vibrations and the emotions, it's like, whoa, you know, to be torture for those people here. And that's what that thing may be enduring. You know,
it's so sad. It's so sad. I mean, it's almost like I was getting sad studying this thing today. And after you told me what the target was, I was like, oh my God, this thing is making me sad. So, okay. Well, let's get into the data. Let's see, where's the first one? Okay, this is wild. Okay, so here's the sensory data for the squonk. Okay. I wrote clogged, white, smooth, unhinged. Unhinged, that's interesting, right? Because he's like, okay, misty, foggy, distracted, and anomalous. That was my sensory data. For my analytic overlay for this little thing, whatever these things are, I wrote retribution. That was the first thing I wrote down. Retry. Service. I was picking up on like erosion, explosion, something about the ether and the ethernet. Okay, like I was picking up in the ethers. And a distraction. I was picking up on something that was a distraction, like, hey, look over here, not over here. And I wrote the long game, something about the long game. And I was picking up on what I thought was like a crater too. So I don't know. I know this is one of those too, like both of these targets, Barry, when I did the first target, I was like, I think this is, I don't know what this is. And I think this is bad data, basically. But let's go to the second page. There's only 2 pages for the first one. Okay, so the word embellished came out. Okay, embellished for the greater good. That's what I wrote, for the greater good. I was picking up on, it looked like a stop sign. I was picking up on something like a stop sign. I wrote octagon, stop, wide open, but closed in. The links we go to. I wrote down the links we go to. And something about longevity and something that was ancient and old. Okay, something ancient and old as well. I mean, could these like thought forms, so could they be ancient, Barry, or do they come into existence immediately and like they just disappear? I mean, how does this even work?
That's a good question. Are they echoes throughout time? I don't know. You know what I mean? I mean, or, you know, is it ancient in terms of, like I said, the midwayers, the secondary midwayers, those things are very ancient. They've been around for a very long time. And as it says there, they're the permanent residents of quote unquote Uranta, which is Earth, permanent residents of Earth. So is that what that refers to? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's really sad. Okay, I've got another target. So let's go to it's the same target, but I did a second shot at it. Okay, and this one's really cool. Okay, so I wrote here's some of my sensory data for this. Heavy, large, quiet, climbing, hiding, monstrous, and painful. Okay, the first thing that I wrote down for analytic overlay, I wrote down land shark. Okay, land shark. Moves quickly, stays hidden, turn around, Monsters Inc. Like Monsters Incorporated, like the cartoon. That's what I was picking up on. I wrote aging and aged out, egregor, egregor is in my data right here. I wrote in pain, and then I heard a voice say, all I know is pain. Y'all,
Wow.
that's wild, Barry. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
I was blown away when I saw that. I was like, man, wow.
So an egregor in pain, and all I know is pain. That was in my data, y'all. I think this is fantastic. Okay, it's horrible, but it's fantastic. And then I was picking up on like what I thought I was looking like a mountain giant, something that looked really scary. Okay, like I was picking up on a mountain giant. I wrote an ogre or a mountain giant. That's what I thought I was looking at. But I also picked up on fire as well.
Oh, what?
Fire. I wrote fire. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so on the next page, my stage 4 data, I wrote anomalous. I was in the forest in the woods. I was definitely in the woods. I was seeing trees and rocks, the deep woods, and I wrote last ditch effort. And then something, I was seeing lights that were like, something was lit up, but it wasn't, it was something that was illuminated, but I couldn't see the source of the light. So I just wrote illumination, lit up, inner earth and underground. Okay, so I wrote inner earth, underground, underworld, and biblical. I also picked up, like I drew like what I thought, it kind of looked like the earth maybe. I mean, I don't know. Wait, if I can put it in the camera. I don't know if y'all can see that. But it's just like a circle with a line through it. Almost like it could be like to me, I thought I was looking at the earth and almost like it had like something in the middle of it. Like it was kind of like pointing towards middle earth. Okay. And you're talking about like the midwayers and middle earthers, whatever you call that. That's what I was picking up on. But I mean, I find it interesting that we were talking about the biblical side of this, the book of Enoch, the egregors and things like that, and the watchers. And I've got biblical in here. And I wrote enclosed space but open. And then I heard let down. Let down. And that was it. I wrote crunch time at the very end. But I find this really interesting. I think the data for this was on target for what this is supposed to be. And I don't know if it to me, I think that it confirms that this thing is some sort of an actual entity.
Yes.
The squonk, y'all. The Albatwitches, not so much. The squonk, yes.
So tell me, so do you think are you opinion from the data that it is mostly corporeal or that it's partial or non-corporeal?
I would say that it seems to be corporeal. If people are seeing an actual being, okay, but I don't know, an egregor, because it could be like because I was picking up almost like a poltergeist type of a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't write down poltergeist in my data. It's not in my data, but that is what I was describing it when I was describing it to you from my data, like my interpretation of my data.
And you know why I'm asking that, right?
Why? No,
because
why?
of the tear dissolving it.
Because the tears dissolving it. Yeah. Yes.
So that means you would almost think that something happening like that would be of a non-corporeal deal. But in some ways, to be quite honest with you, I heard something I didn't catch the first time. I'm just looking at it before we did this. You almost have a reference to not just the inner earth, but possible extraterrestrial connection.
Yeah.
I kind of heard that in that data. And what's odd about that is that, quote unquote, the Albatwitch or the tree sprites, I've always heard that those hairy tree sprites are supposed to actually be ETs. Although they look like little Sasquatch-like or whatever, they're supposed to be ETs of some type that are here on Earth. That's what I've heard. Don't mean it's true, but I just heard that several times. I was curious if that would come out in the data, but it didn't, as nothing but BS was at that. But but it's interesting. But I'm seeing things that are remnant with this too. And that wasn't ever one of the questions, or it wasn't what's the origin of it. Normally when you and I would do a target, the origin is a separate targets we'll do that on, because the origin and the realness of it can be two different things, the being or the target itself and then the origin of it. You know what I mean? So I wonder what the origin of this thing is. That would also answer my question about the midway creatures and all the other things.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I find this really, really cool, and it's almost it's got me thinking about like my cryptid field research and the things that we are experiencing out in the woods. Okay, because there's some things that you just can't explain. You don't see things out there, and you get an overwhelming sense of some sort of an emotion sometimes when you're out in the field. And could it be us creating poltergeists? Like our worst fears are coming real out there. You know, we are manifestors, right, Barry?
Yeah, and the earth is amplifying it because you're in a power spot. You know,
could I be manifesting my biggest nightmare when I'm out there? And it coming real. I mean, would they show us this in movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th? Seriously. They do. My son was just watching that earlier today. Okay, tonight.
Which one?
It was Freddy versus Jason. He was watching Freddy versus Jason, and Freddy got his head cut off. Yeah, it was wild. I had not seen it. It went late. Yeah. Oh yeah. Good old Friday the 13th. And
I'm still stuck on Michael Myers at Decatur. I got to quit watching those little reels. Anyway, that's it. Very, 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 very interesting on this, though. I didn't like that. I got to be, like I mentioned, of these two targets, I thought that this is the one that would be the BS. Was this one, the Squonk? I wasn't real faithful in that one, but I had just what I was picking up about it. I want to see how much of that actually really turned out to be real in your data, and I'm kind of shocked in that way. You know, I mean, it's quite similarities, because astral seeing or seeing psychically and intuitively is not the same as remote viewing. So it's always cool when these things come together and mesh. You know,
it is. Yes. Oh, Angel says, I believe a lot of us are going to be fighting these evil beings here soon. I sure hope not. But get ready, everybody. We need to start working out. Get our machetes.
I think we already are.
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing right now. They call it government. I mean, honestly, you're seeing it right now. You're seeing it in the industry of not just politics, but you're seeing it in the celebrity industry, huge right now, Hollywood. Yeah. I was thinking about, what my mother used to say. She was into the entertainment. She liked movies from like way back when they're still black and white. She's from that era, and she would say frequently how Hollywood seems so dark now, and that the stars don't really seem like stars anymore. They didn't seem happy. They didn't seem real. She had said that. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's just the difference between the old era and now. But with like monster movies, she likes Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi and cats like that, Lon Chaney Jr. That was, so I have appreciation for things like that. But it's true, when you start looking at Hollywood compared to now, whatever's going on, it's, even we can call it all other things, but bottom line, it's just a dark, demonic industry. And I think maybe it wasn't always that way. You know what I mean?
It was a bunch of bodies. A bunch of demonic, dark entities jumping bodies, or maybe not even demonic. Maybe demonic's not the right word, because demonic's such a broad term. Everybody just calls everything demonic now. Okay, maybe reptilian or something. We talked about that just yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. That term comes easy, but you've got this whole host of inorganic, dark, negative beings that are all sorts of different types. So I don't know what. The word demonic isn't always inaccurate. It's just you got ETs that can be that, multidimensionals, whatever. There's really some negative ones out there, and some that are going for awareness and luminosity, consciousness, trying to gobble it up the same way you see the ecosystems here on Earth doing, which is very predatorial. Got to be careful out there.
Oh, yeah. I actually just talked about some of this in my hunt club video I put out this morning for my hunt club members here on the YouTube channel, the membership. Y'all, if you wanted some exclusive content, y'all go join that. It's much appreciated. But I was talking about the corruption, like corruption, and I was basically talking about like big corporations and government stuff and the eminent domain, all these data centers and stuff that are going up. I know, probably shouldn't talk about that here on YouTube, but anyways, it's just it's something that's happening right now, and it's very apparent for everybody to see right now. Man, take a stand, y'all. Go to your local city council meetings and your commissioner meetings. Don't let them take everything from us, okay? Or from you or your family or whatever. It's wild. It's wild. It's just more energy to fuel the loosh of the negative forces and stuff. You know what I mean? That's what I think. The controllers are not making it easy for us. Okay, like nobody's having a soft life right now. I'm just saying. Nobody I know.
No.
Yeah.
And we're close to losing neurocognitive laws. We don't have any really, but we're about to not get one. And they turn on that. I worry when they turn on this next level. What is it? The 5G, right? It's coming on next.
It's 6 next. I think.
Yeah, 6. Excuse me, 6. Yeah, I'm worried about that. Is that going to be true with things like, gentlemen, you still need to get on your show, Dr. Beltran?
Dr. Beltran. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I got to set that up. I'll do it.
If you still can, he's getting pretty well known now. But he's made the comment that when we go to 6G, how it's going to turn on people and will become targeted individuals that never were before. And it's going to like triple or quadruple. That's scary, man. And we have no law against that at all. Most people don't even know what a non-linear junction detection scan is, let alone where to get one.
I know. Yeah. Thank you to Desiree Foley. Desiree is amazing. I was so excited to have her on the show. We did a remote viewing show with us 3, and that was fantastic. They're doing wonderful work. And Barry, can you explain to the audience? I want to say Noon at Noon. Thank you for that super sticker. You're so sweet. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for being here. Can you explain like what you're talking about? Because some people may be watching the show just hearing about this for the first time. There are some people believe that they are targeted, and we're all targeted individuals. Okay, but what is it? Is it when people we're losing control of our own free will with our bodily functions, right? Is that kind of what it is? Like our brain power, and we're being mind controlled.
Yeah, what it is what that she runs that Mind Nexus group, and the Mind Nexus, they have this nonlinear junction detection scanning equipment, and what that is like initially was the equipment that used to scan the president's room for like bombs and stuff. And what they do is they can detect non-natural human frequencies being emitted from the human body, which turns out to be places of the body where people have like copes of like nanosensors, biosensors, and also semiconductors. And then they can trace those fields, those energy, or the frequencies back to their origin now. And you get places like these certain universities, medical institutions, something called MILSAT, MILSAT. Everybody should look that up and look up the budget for military surveillance. Yeah, that's what MILSAT is. $76 billion budget. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. But
so the frequencies too. Remember the frequencies. Like everybody's emitting different frequencies, and the frequencies are owned by different corporations. And you can tell whose frequency you have inside of your body, what frequency is emitting. You can trace it to that corporation.
And I also advise everybody to look up what's called WBAN, Y-band, Wireless Body Area Network. It shows the areas that can be hot spots, and they're targeting those. And you compare that to what Mind Nexus is doing. They can tell you like which areas, like the nasals, you've got a lot of these superconductors and biosensors in the ear that helps make the V2K we hear so much, or at least make people susceptible to it, and the different parts of the bodies. And then you can compare that to the Wireless Body Area Network and see how that connects. It's really, really serious when dealing with this, how turning people on and making all more targeted individuals. And, I had wondered why, like when you and I have got the pleasure of meeting in person a couple times now. And the second time was at the Journey to Truth conference. Great conference. But honestly, I wondered why Creator had summoned me there. You know what I mean? Whenever I go to one of these things, it's to meet certain people. And that time, undeniably, was to meet Desiree. You know, I didn't know her story or anything, but she wasn't the only person there that was quote unquote a targeted individual. That's where we met Arkham, or sorry, Arkeem. He was
Yeah.
no one knew who he was then. He had showed he was there, and there were several people there, and that other lady that was really talkative. The other, you remember her? We're eating the chicken, but
The chicken in the box. Yes, that was so good.
yeah, she was going about 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it was valid the stuff she was saying, and that's the first time I really got to talk to target individuals of that to that degree. That weren't some people that I had like as clients or something, you know, but it helped put it all together. And Desiree was the first person I ever saw produce a scan of her body and what it was producing, or showing evidence of like nanosensors and stuff in her vents that these scientists were, you know, combing her apartment. And stuff like that is very real. And people are being attacked on that level. And then you've got that also with the fact that they're doing neural programming with like micro audio spotlight and things like that. That's actually giving people remote dream engineering, targeted dream incubation is what that's called. And it's turning their dreams into memories and the memories into reality. That's major manipulation of our consciousness. And when you and I have talked about things like these digital twins, anyone that looks up digital twin cyborgs and look up the techniques they can use to download conscious memories from a person in brain-to-brain interface into one of these digital twins, okay, and then we've got these people talking about 21 and back, all right, that's being put in these digital twins. That's neuroprogramming. They're going to terraform Mars or whatever, and just taking it forward. That ties into the other stuff you and I discovered when I bit off, talking about apples, I bit off an apple, what or more, and I could chew, the Trappist one, and how that ties into the slavery thing and the slavery you've seen on some of the other remote targets we've done. But that one in particular, and comparing that with some of the SSP people like Rodriguez and others, kept telling me at the airport, he starts crying, I'm a slave, I was a slave. William Tompkins talks about the Milky Way is one of the less advanced galaxies, that we still have a problem with slavery in this galaxy from some advanced lower vibrational civilizations. Okay, so I mean, this all ties together. It's not just Jessica and Barry talking crap, but you and I have been working together for a long time, and it's like right there. It don't take no damn, no darn Hansel and Gretel, or I was watching Hansel and Gretel. It doesn't take it doesn't take them following breadcrumbs, you know, to see that that's part of this darkness. And you tied it into the celebrity industry, Hollywood, all that. You tied the various parts of it together. Missing 411, the stuff going on underground and where people are being taken. At least the data you got out of it, they got you attacked real good. But hey, you know, it's what it is, right? Got you roasted good for no reason. Jeez. Anyway.
It's okay. Hey, at least I'm getting roasted by the right people. Okay. So I got roasted by the source. Okay. So that's fine. That's fine. Hey, I'm on the radar. That's always good, man. We're on the radar.
You know, for the record, let's tie that in to the Spirit Network. You've experienced that. Now that we know what it is and can break it down more, and how actually that ties into the radiation phenomenon too, to a degree. When you start dealing with, you know, these spirits that are communicating with each other using gamma ray bursts and using high wave microwave energy also. That's, you know, that's some of these radiation places, and where how these things have to be shielded. These type 3 spears have to be shielded, and they use certain areas, certain structures. I think you're getting pretty close on that. You've been experiencing that. You know, and that now it means a whole new thing. And I can't help but notice the amount of people, since the government files have come out about the people that suddenly are seeing, and I'm seeing, or maybe it's just because you and I have been talking about it publicly. I'm just becoming aware of how many more people are seeing these metallic spears, those type 3, type 1s, the type 3s and type 2s. The type ones are the ones that make the triangle, not TR3B, but they look like plasma balls. The triangle, that's the targeting actually of whatever weaponry that is there. When you see those, supposedly you're witnessing a war in the sky that they've talked about always, but it's a hostile craft that they're firing on, or presence. That interferometer type of technology they're using is targeting. Boom.
Whoa. Man, you know, that is like from the pictures, the first disclosure dump from the U.S. Department of War. You know, we went over it earlier this week. When Jan and Gerald were on the show with me, we talked about this. A lot of the pictures are showing they look like those little silver metallic balls. You know, that's what they look like. And Barry, we've got a whole other layer to that, because you and I have seen that video of the silver metallic balls that shoot past the camera and turn into ETs.
You know, and that is undeniably there, an example of a craft coming from another dimension, or from another universe, to what it's coming from somewhere else. And when it appears here in the third dimension, it appears to be that silver orb like that. Okay. And I mean, I'm wondering what exactly does happen when you transition things from one universe, one dimension to another. We know some things, you know, some things I know from my experiences, but there's others that tie in, like when we talked about John Vivinco and right hemispheric remote viewing, I think it's called, and how he had said that coming through some of the portal on the other side is thousands of entities trying to squeeze through at once, some of these portals. And those that come through, get through, the few that do, they emerge here in collective consciousness, orb form. So that's just another way to put an orb on top of those beings, conscious beings, that can just warp their Merkaba, their dream body, astral body, biofield, whatever you want to call it. You know, they can actually use their intent of will, which is something mankind needs to get better at, to actually morph their energy body into some type of a sphere orb for intergalactic travel. And then when they come through one of these Makos, how often do they, even if it's physical craft over there, it emerges here in this dimension as an orb, or appears to be that. And I'll take that and just tie that up again with that individual, mention the name, but talking one-on-one, like I said, look, I can't speak for everybody else, but I'm nobody's fool. I read body language really good, and I also read micro expressions. And y'all that know what that is, on the face, they are only for a millisecond or less. Okay, and they can't be controlled unless you're a really, really practiced politician or actor. And this individual, I was watching the micro expressions big time. You know what I mean? And one of the things they told me about that was they'd seen one of these huge reptilians, one of the 12-foot tall ones, get sucked up into an orb the size of a tennis ball. It just contracted and like looked like a distortion, contracting and shot up, was gone, like teleported out like that. And then they started saying, you know, their craft over there, they may be huge over there, but here in this dimension, they look like those orbs. Don't mean everything they kept saying is true, but it's worthy food for thought, is all I'm saying. All right. And after what you have seen with Mike or Matt Dell's film, yeah, I mean, that's incredible, man. We sat over there, I must have had to play that thing like 10 times, man. I couldn't get enough of it.
I have to see it every time I see him. I have to see that video. I'm like, can you show me the video, please? Just send it to me, Matt.
and just the realness of it, Jessica. It's so very real. It's not one of those setups. You can see it's just like somebody would have a normal cam. You've seen it before, but the way that was, like, you're like, whoa. And to see those beings, and I'm curious, where do they come from? Because they may have looked somewhat gray-like, one of those grays, but they moved super insectoid-like. And, you know, this takes us into something else. Let's talk about this, okay? You know, I've always been obsessed with the cave paintings, all right? Some of them, especially the one in France and the other ones. And when you look at these ones and you see these ones that look like these grays on there, okay? And it's always this gray type of extraterrestrial on those cave paintings most of the time. Have you not noticed that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's deal with this. Absolutely. And I like it because on your show, somebody was talking about this, and I was hip to it. our friends Gerald and Jane,
Jane and Gerald,
Midwest Night Watchers. They were talking about it too, the P57, the P72, or whatever. But you know, it comes down to these humans that are supposed to be from the future. Okay, they're coming back here because they destroyed whatever. That's not a new theme, and I'm seeing it coming more now. And somebody else that talked about that a lot was Credo. Credo brought that up. That's been like in the 90s. He said, "Look, these Mandingo, as he called them, he said they're people. They're people from the future. That's why some of them are running around down here without any type of uniform, no type of suit. That they're from here, and they're us from the future." And then he said, okay, I don't want to repeat this too much, but he describes being in a location exactly like you described in your data from the missing 411. Okay, he described being in one of those places like that, seeing other contactees or whatever. And he said that word that they call mentina or whatever it is for these grays. He said that it means the tormentor of men, of people. And he said that these beings, when they're doing this to him, and they're doing horrible things, putting those machines on him, jacking up his balls and doing all that, his testiculars and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but the pain. And then they dropped him without all of his clothes and everything. He's wandering around between villages, missing his boots and certain items, just like on 411. Completely disoriented. And he was well known, so some people kind of saved him, rescued him. Anyway, point being that when he says that, he said that they're us from the future. And when you want to tie that into, a lot of people right now are talking about the J-Rod thing. And look, it might have been Clifford Stone or somebody I heard talking. They said that they thought that although we've had recovered bodies and extraterrestrials, that the J-Rod thing wasn't real. I don't know, not for me to judge. But J-Rod said he was from the future with the time there would be a cataclysm and humanity goes underground and develops insectoid features. And if you take it in cross-reference, the first time back in the early 90s, like 90, I heard 91 maybe, I heard Robert Ghostwolf and Robert Morning Sky. They both had come to my town and spoke. Okay, and that's the first I started really hearing about the Kachinas and the both different kinds, whether it's the red dancing star or the blue one. I thought that Hale-Bopp was the blue Kachina for a long time. You could see that some gun without anything visually. Okay, so I was wondering when the red one would come, which is supposed to bring the destruction of Earth and all that stuff. Okay, the dancing red star. Anyway, dealing with the Kachinas, but going back, they talked about the ant people. That's the first time I'd really heard familiarity with them. And the ant people that came up and helped the Hopi from underground, and that they were from underground, that they were people that went underground during one of these Randall Carlson cataclysms, okay, and developed insectoid features. So this comes up again and again. And where does that end and begin? With what you have also remote viewed for me, which is the plasma high energy balls that make the crop circles. And taking in the dusty complex plasmas. People need to look that up, what megalithic clouds actually are, what the Kordylewski clouds are that are between us and the moon. Okay, they're complex, dusty complex plasmas that are capable of being sentient. We start looking at something what's called the Kawana ball, which is how they get these patterns that would be formed through solar radiation and not solar radiation, cosmic dust as well. Okay, so I mean it's very fascinating when you start looking at that and how they're saying that type of plasma may be automatically sentient on its own, naturally, when it starts coming together and and evolving like that. So stuff like that we really need to take into consideration when dealing with all that. And in that way, as I wrap this up, okay, those plasma balls making those crop circles are those time travelers too. Us from the future, not just marking the spots and helping us with free energy, but are they also coming back at a point where there was still enough genetic material left here so that we don't, and what happens to us when we do actually go the next level, like Star Trek, type 2, type 1, type 2, type 3 civilization, when we lose these containments these body containments into something else? Do we move into plasma next? Become plasma beings? You know, kind of like that movie that Star Trek Next Generation, where the dude turns into, he's my species is changing. They were trying to kill him, and the others that were going through some metamorphosis, and he turned into like of all things, a golden light being is what he turned into. Anyway, sorry, I'll shut up now. But this is just things that I think we need to bring together. You have done a lot of work, and it's not just BS. It's not just all spread out. A lot of this stuff ties in. I don't hear other people talking about it. Heck, I'm not stupid, but some of the stuff I didn't know, man. Couldn't draw it all together, you know, not in these ways. It's real weird. It's its own tapestry.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
somebody said that you get me wound up, and he didn't let me go. I saw some comment. It was kind of comical, actually. I said, no, I don't need much. I don't need much help. I can go on these weird tangents, but it happens when we work together a lot. It is what it is, you know.
well, we work well together, okay, and yes, I mean, I get excited about stuff, and I go on my tangents, and you get excited about stuff, you do, you know, and I think we're doing this live, y'all. You know, Barry and I do not practice any of this before we turn the camera on. We're just rolling with everything that we do, okay, and that's why I love doing this so much, because you never know where we're going to go. Like we've covered the topics pretty good tonight. But then we have space at the end for other stuff. Okay. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now. You know, something that I was thinking, I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but, you know, I like to think out loud. And we're talking about these egregores. We're talking about these thought forms becoming reality. We always talk about manifesting our reality, right? Manifesting things. And, you know, I got into the whole spiel about like, could I be creating, you know, I obviously have done it in the past when I was young. You know, having some sort of PK abilities to watch as objects in my bedroom levitate and float around the room and stuff. I've seen it. I've watched it. I've lived it. Okay. And I probably shouldn't say that publicly. Too late. Okay. But I've seen it. Well, you know, I've been told that it's dangerous. You know, people will get targeted that have those abilities, you know, pretty bad. So, but anyways, it is what it is. And so, okay. So, am I creating some of these experiences out in the field? You know, like when we were at the LBL, the Land Between the Lakes. You know, what was that? 3 weeks ago, about a month ago, I guess. I was at the LBL, and we got the ambush, and Matt and I could not see what was surrounding us, and I was like, "Is this even real?" Like I hear it. They're throwing rocks at us. They're pushing our vehicles, but we don't see them. Okay, but we've got like the cloaking. We've got, you know, the line of vision, you know, the light spectrum, like where we can't see some things that are right in front of us. And, but now we've got like, well, I was questioning, like, could I have manifested that? Could that have been some kind of poltergeist activity out there? You know, that was just like human. It sounded like humans or Bigfoot. I mean,
absolutely. I think that, and also it could even be both, but also a possibility that you're in a high radiation area where you've got those spheres communicating, and they're making those psychic poltergeists and phenomenon to try to get you guys' attention and get you away from that area, or get you to move in any way so you won't be in such danger of the radiation. I mean, that's just one possible thing too that could account for some of the phenomenon. But I have no doubt that you're pulling, you know, poltergeists around you. And to be honest with you, to be quite honest, I'm beginning to wonder if some of the remote viewing you're doing isn't already temporal and will become more so. You know, I would love to see what happened if you were to do a remote viewing session when hooked up to something like this piece of crap device I have here, this hyperdimensional resonator by Stephen Gibbs. This thing doesn't even run anymore. But nonetheless, if you're hooked up with this big old thing on your this electromagnetic things or the stuff on your head, what would happen? You know what I mean? Just when someone remote views with this, I think God, what is it? God, tectonic plates and the type of technology like this works better with brain waves. You know, before this guy cussed me out because I told him, I said, man, this ain't gonna time jump me nowhere. but the crystal and everything does do something with the time field. He cussed me out, but anyway, that's not never here nor there. Especially when I said I could change a couple of things. I could put an integration circuit in there that might make it work. I don't want to hear that BS from you. He went off, man. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he called me an alias, a soulless alien hybrid. That's obviously why that technology didn't take me to the Cretaceous period.
I guess he told you off.
No, he let me have it. He let me have it. That's all right. He got the traditional Generation X suck it.
Yeah, you got totes. That's what I like to say down here in the South. You got tote. Okay.
The parting of the ways was not good.
Oh my God.
Anyway, but what you're doing and things like that, or anything, the voice boxes and all this, at what point does what you're doing in remote viewing start becoming more temporal? At what point is it that they are having these sentinels and things that are trying to really throw y'all off? I think they've been there for a long time, but this is a thing adjust to the future and more of a type 1 civilization thing. And they're trying to stop that already. So, food for thought again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, everything. This is something else I was thinking about when you were talking about the metallic orbs and stuff. Part of these targets that we have done, some of these remote viewing targets that involve orbs and things that actually were once connected to source, I guess you could say, but now they've been corrupted in some way, and like the dark forces have been reverse engineering these things and using them for their benefit, but pretending to be for the benefit of humanity when they're not. That kind of stuff seems like that's a common theme in a lot of this stuff. And I hate to even like try to make a comparison, but this the squonk that we're talking about tonight, and how this thing is like a manifestation of, the people in charge, people who are doing all these crazy experiments within our governments and things like that, the Montauk Project and stuff, they are fully aware of these abilities that people have to create something out of nothing, out of emotions, basically, right? And so it's all weaponized. Everything's weaponized. So how has, let's just dare I say military or agencies of some sort, how are they using things like these thought forms and the egregores and stuff? Like, what are they doing? How have they weaponized it? Inquiring minds want to know.
I was for obvious reasons, the hypnosis techniques I use are not QHHT. When everybody know that I've not been trained in that. That's not my thing. Okay, I have something different. I made my own systems, but I do have a great deal of respect for Dolores Cannon's work. I was listening to some things she was doing. She was talking about, and she had mentioned something about how the reason why Atlantis really was destroyed was the fact that they were starting to experiment with dark matter and exotic matter in a way that is beyond what CERN is doing. But CERN is starting to get there in the new hadron colliders. But I mentioned, I think yesterday's show we did together, she was saying how the Bermuda Triangle in particular was used to be like a type of a temple, a science center. And they had this type of a mirror technology that was focused thought into these crystals, and it creates these portals when it was like in level with the sea and the geomagnetic of the sea. That was she described it pretty good, but that's now damaged. And I know that there's magnetically solar powered crystals down there, and that's what causing some of these those dimensional rifts. And some that would be supported by another deal I given you, High Brazil. I always thought that was one of these craft that was from that era coming up to recharge the solar cells for those crystals, which are like some type of a photonic solar magnetically charged crystal, capable of focusing thought and storing thought, the energy of thought. And it made what she was saying actually made me think about something. You've seen that engine before, or brain, whatever it is I've shown with the 3 crystals in it, the real big thing I was around. All right. And I've mentioned before that those crystals, as well as others I've seen on board these craft, glow inside. They're producing some type of either biochemical or chemical luminescence. And now when I thought about what, with sort of how thought works in this, and how the Makos work themselves, could that be another way that they're storing pure thought power and polarizing that the same that they do the orgone energy? Or I'm starting to wonder. You know what I mean? I don't know if I start having an encounter or something, an experience, I know I'm right or not. They'll tell me eventually. But I'm really starting to wonder, is that what it is? It's just beyond what I've been thinking, because we're dealing with, again, it's hard to admit, like some of us having encounters, like some of these beings, they come from straight consciousness, whether it's the Mako, the Akashic records, or us, straight consciousness.
Ew.
I remember Ray first said that. I watched him get dogs. Somebody started yelling at him. No, those nuts and bolts. He's getting dogs hard, man. But he said, man, some of them come from consciousness.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you know how we talk about loosh and stuff? I love talking about loosh. Okay, I don't know why. Because it's just fun to say the word. Okay, but we talk about loosh. And Nathan Davis, thank you for that super sticker. You are so sweet. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. And okay, so we're talking about loosh. Think about, like, we got the World Cup, the soccer stuff's coming to Atlanta. Okay, and you know, it's a big stadium. We talk about these stadiums being like loosh factories and stuff. What if? I'm just saying, what if? This is just me thinking out loud. What if there are beings being created off of all that loosh and that energy and stuff out of these stadiums, like amusement parks, places where there's like high levels of like high energy being put off by human bodies and stuff? What if they're like creating things underneath those parks? Is that crazy? Am I absolutely insane for thinking that?
Is it that, or is it like when you chum the water for piranha? You know what I mean? Or a school of sharks? It's just chumming the water. I'm not asking. Is that what it is when you get those places together and all that energy? And think of it, the place you get that the most would be what? MMA. Look how MMA just took boxing out, man. Boxing is not nearly anything like it was when we were younger. Mike Tyson era and before that, it's nothing like that right now. It's almost a joke compared to MMA. People want to see somebody get choked the hell out and get maybe knocked out to death. That's what people are waiting for. And look at it, just like the Roman cathedral to me, or the Roman Colosseum. Look at it when somebody gets jacked real hard and some blood goes flying. Look at people's faces. I mean, that's messed up, man. You're laughing, but it's true. Look at their faces when somebody's getting tortured and mutilated. I mean, they're in heaven. So in that way,
I'm sure people love that.
Is that like chumming the water for negative entities that are just roaming around here everywhere, out of phase with us, for loose as you call it? I still prefer the term deadly orgone radiation. And that's, I didn't know what that was, like I mentioned before, until I was playing with a teenager with those cloud busters. I was following Reich and Constable and trying to make those things. I started getting a little ill after a while. It didn't start until I started combusting nimbus clouds. I did a couple of those. I started not feeling that good. And I started seeing these things when I took those pictures with ultraviolet Kodak, and ultraviolet filter on it and infrared film. And I started to get developed. Hard to get that stuff developed back then. But I started seeing those things around the machine. But see, I didn't know. I was just using a box of water, running that tubing into just a bucket of water. It wasn't a running source. I wasn't changing it enough. And that DOR from the nimbus clouds was building up inside of the machine, inside that bucket. That's why it's in some ways why some nimbus clouds are dark. It's not just the dust and stuff in them. It's that DOR too. And you see these beings feed on that stuff. So we call it now, term it loosh. Another way to generate it is through negative thoughts. We're quite powerful. So, these are things that's coming up in that way.
It's crazy. We live in such a sad place, man. It's hard to be so happy and spunky all the time, man. It is. If you've got a friend who's happy and spunky and in a good mood all the time, cherish that person, y'all. I don't know. This is wild. I mean, it's like there's so much. I mean, it's just like there's parasites everywhere, literal parasites everywhere. And that's the energy around us, the people around us, the non-humans around us. I don't know. But all of it, everything is out to suck us dry, basically, Barry. That's what it feels like. These poor little squonks. Poor little squonks. I think we're all like, we could all manifest a squonk right now, probably. Most of us. Okay.
Think about it. It's looking at this place. It's going WTF! You open up the portal. Let me out this mug. Come on. Where's the portal?
In my room. I don't want to be here. Yeah. That sucks. Angelique, thank you for that super sticker. That is so sweet. Did you go to Mount Shasta? I saw that a while ago, Angelique. You went somewhere. I think it was Shasta. Tell us about it.
I've never been there, and I hear so many things about it. And some people got mad at me because I had mentioned that some of the spelunkers, but the oh gosh, I can't think of what you call them right now. Oh man, oh goodness, why is that eluding me?
You're talking about people that go cave diving?
Yeah, that's not spelunkers. These are the
cave rescue.
Yeah, no. Oh gosh, man. Anyway, they were saying that they'd been underneath Mount Shasta and there was no city under there, and it was all looking for it and wanting to discover it actually. So but people say, well, it's because it's out of sync. It's dimensional, maybe, but I know that's a very special place. And I used to wonder like what similarities it had to Iseti, and if there's maybe one of those things you've remote viewed, an ore station operating inside of Mount Shasta also that's helping it produce phenomenon. I was on Jimmy Church's Fade to Black, I think it was, and we were talking about that, and he said, well, Barry, he's got that voice, Barry. He said, Mount Shasta's, it's good. I've been there several times. It's nice. It's very spiritual, yada, yada. He said, but it's not like Iseti. Iseti's just Iseti. The phenomenon there is different. A little more intense. That's what he was saying, and he's been to both places. So he started saying, you remember that orb we all saw above the mountain around the field? I said, yeah, I remember. All the stuff that happened to me out there, I was like, whoa, the orb, it was pretty cool, but I mean, it's not like some other stuff happened to me. See some light through that mountain. That'll mess you up. See a holographic mountain out there. That'll test your metal.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Angelique said go. She said go. So I definitely would like to go out there sometime too. There's a lot of places I need to go.
Which place?
Sometime. Shasta, Mount Shasta. That area where she was.
I heard it's cool. I heard it's really cool. A lot of people have experiences out there. So I think it's some type of a power spot. It's got to be. And I always wonder how many of those ore stations are still functioning on Earth. You know what I mean? Certain ones of us get around them, we get blasted. That's simple. You got the right, whether it's the right bloodline, the right soul memories, whatever it is, the right biofield.
Oh, yeah. Maximus says, yeah, those spectators were crazy. Over time, I think people would realize how insane it is and cease going to the games. That's at these big stadiums and coliseums, amusement parks, all that stuff. I don't know. It is kind of crazy. And not only that, you go places like the Super Bowl where they have those satanic ritual halftime shows. So it's just one big energy harvesting loosh machine out there. Welcome to the big show.
I mean, Maximus, think about it this way. That's all we see in the industry, period. Is that type of thing. If you look at the entertainment industry, look at the stuff that isn't like a maniac in a ski mask going around hacking up young virgins or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not to say, look at the ones that are good stuff like about angelics or good do-gooders. That doesn't fly very good, man. I can think of one or two angelic shows, and they didn't last that long. What, Highway to Heaven? I thought that was a really good one. And another one would have been, what was it, with the lady in Della Reese. Oh, what was that called? Saved by an Angel, Touched by an Angel? Those didn't last very long. They went to Hallmark and then it was gone. They barely made it on Hallmark. It's true though. They don't last. People don't want to hear that. They want to see murder, destruction. That's where it's at. I was watching one of those. What was it? Rambo Last Blood. He was jacking those cats up. There was no acting, no nothing. I was like, my God.
Yeah. Man,
if you kind of lose attention, they'll just blow something up. Now somebody get unalived real quick. You'd be like, oh, you know.
we have very short attention spans, by the way. Everybody does.
Yeah.
What most people do. Firewater by Design, thank you so much. She gives it a Cryptid Huntress membership to the Hunt Club. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That was very sweet. Yeah, y'all, I think a lot of y'all would enjoy the Hunt Club. Y'all want to go see some of those videos and stuff. Join that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And man, I don't know. This has been a great show tonight, Barry. I really enjoyed I feel like, how many shows have we done together this week? Just two?
Yeah, two of them.
Just two.
Two of them.
Yeah,
Somebody asked something about Stephen Gibbs in there. I'll tell you something interesting about him, okay? And like we had several conversations before he let me have it. He's an odd cat, you know what I mean? And he was very odd. And in fact, I get him from my friend. I've got like 7 or 8 journals that he sent to me, and these things are some of them, you know. I had my friend that's an engineer first of all take apart that machine. We looked at it over, want to look at the caduceus coil that interferes with the time field and all that stuff. And to be quite honest with you, I want to make sure when I put that thing on my head, which is a guitar like thing, okay, and to put this electromagnet that's so big I can't even have it in here near my computer, put this thing over my chakra area, that I didn't, excuse my language, fry my balls, okay? I want an engineer to look at that thing. I want to try to fry my testicles, man. No way. Behind Stephen Gibbs? The hell with that. Seriously. So, and he was from my state. His phone number and everything. I said, man, don't try to act mysterious, man. You live probably not far from me. You got the same area code. One area code over, man. He got real quiet, you know. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I knew you before anyway. No, you didn't. Anyway, point being.
Oh, my God.
It was very interesting. The one thing he said after he got done telling me his most interesting deal was that he sold one of those machines to Rod Serling. And he said from the timeline he came from, there was no Twilight Zone until he sold one of those machines to Rod Serling. And Rod Serling went back and created that. And he started telling me, you notice that the original Twilight Zones, a lot of them are about time travel. True enough. Okay. And then he told me that he jumped to the pearly gates and he got into it with St. Peter's. They told him to bring his ass back. Okay, that sounds like Larry David to me on Curb Your Enthusiasm, but hey, whatever, I'm good with that, you know, okay. But then he tells me this, Jessica. I was saying what the guy said, okay, but then he tells me this one. Okay, I'm looking over, and I don't have those journals now, but I'll get them back. But one of them, he has these other devices. One of them is like the size of a cigarette package, and it's things you can get the casings at what used to be Radio Shack, which I think is no longer exists. But these were very advanced little devices, more than that device I just showed, okay? And I called him, and it's one, even my friend Bill's looking at him going, this is very interesting. You know, and I call him, I say, man, where'd you get these schematics for this one? And you know what he says?
What?
He says, from time travelers from the future, one of them, which was myself, and they gave me that stuff. And he said, but then that's when I got invited to that symposium, this conference. He said it was somewhere in California that would have this conference that was for time inventors, time device inventors. And it would fill up with people with real devices like him trying to prove it and doing like a whole thing for recognition and to take it all forward. And what they would do was these people were like either drugged, assaulted, and then put into this mental institution that was somewhere in California. He said also, he named it. And he said, Barry, if you check out the manifesto or look into it, you'll find most of the people in there say that they're time travelers.
I am not a time traveler.
Insane. I mean, I can't tell you it's true.
I am not one.
As cookie as he was to me, that was one of the most, I think, relevant things that he had said. That and the fact that he knew some certain things about my accident that he claimed because we had talked before it happened to me. So whatever, I don't know, man. But you know, I've had time stuff that has factored into all my deal. I still talk about it a lot, but it's why I know about time science and have studied it, because it's interfered. But then I hear the stuff that the the SSP and all them are saying it's different than what I've been through. I wasn't part of Looking Glass. It wasn't that. But I've been exposed to charters that I'm pretty sure are historians from our future. I've talked about that. Anyway, but we've got different programs going of all sorts of different types. So I don't judge, but I'm trying to figure out what's once and draw the tapestry.
And try to not get your balls fried in the process.
Yeah. Hey, it's funny, but I don't have the other part of it. If I showed you the electromagnet and that thing you put on your head looks like a guitar string, you'd be like, oh man. And when you turn it on, this stuff's going like, hey, whoa, man. And this guy's telling me he used to go to the pearly gates. And he says you have to use it around a vortex, but he doesn't tell anybody how to get to a vortex unless you use a pendulum or something. You know what I mean? It's little stuff like that he was missing. And just for the record of funness, okay? I might even put this on my channel. I've still got a recording of it. Art Bell used to do the time traveler's line.
Yes.
And he had the one guy, I might have sent it to you, that said he was from 2034. And it wasn't it wasn't John Teeter. This was not John Teeter. This was somebody that called in on 2 of Art's wild card time traveler line. And the first one he said, I called you before, and I'm the guy that had the Stephen Gibbs machine. And I told you it didn't work very good. But then I took it out in the desert and it did work. And I attracted the attention of higher personalities and they put him in some sort of program. And he started describing these programs to Art, like Project Southern Cross and things like that. And Art said, I've heard about that. And dude's going, what? At this time? And he calls back the next time, said, well, for me, it's just been a few minutes ago. I heard my voice on there. I said, I better call back. But for you, it's been however many months or whatever. Very interesting. But just he had mentioned that device there and using it, saying it didn't work very good until I went out in the desert. He's correct. The thing doesn't work. I had a couple weird things happen, but it's not like it's going to shoot me to the pearly gates where I'm hanging out with whatever, Stephen Gibbs and Larry David. It's not. But, interesting when dealing with the caduceus coil, Jessica, which is just a copper coil twisted and turned into circular formation. It's called a caduceus coil. And that's about that machine, what interferes with the time field of a watch. You put a watch next to the electromagnet with that caduceus coil, it makes it go crazy. You know what I mean? So it does do little things like that. But for a full time edit or a time jump, forget it. But it's also telepathically active. I used it used for telepathy. I was blasting people. So hey,
you're blasting people
at the risk of my own testicular fortitude. But hey, whatever.
Right, your own risk. That's right. Well, that is. I don't believe I'm a time traveler. Okay, but I did have that incident at the meadow. At the meadow, I'm just saying that, okay, because I don't know. Because I did hear my own voice at the hiking into the meadow, and I yelled out. I don't know if it was not me because I was me, and somebody else was across the creek, and it said time travel. Why? It was weird, Barry. It was me. It was my voice. I don't know if it was me, but it was definitely my voice.
You've already had an anomaly, you see. So is that a result of when you take your remote viewing even further? Or is it the remote of you messing with those spirit boxes? Or is it something technology you yet to encounter? And you
it's
in the
technology
future?
I've yet to encounter. Well, it sounded like my voice, like now, like my present day voice. Like I think that my voice probably sounded different when I was younger, and it's going to sound different when I'm an old lady. Okay, probably. Even though I don't smoke and stuff, so like my voice just got raspy over the past few years. So it'll probably always be the same, I think. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know what that was. I still don't know how that happened. I think maybe I was doing. Okay, here's another option too. I could have been doing a deep mind probe on myself, remote viewing myself, and that's what it. Maybe that's what it sounds like to do a deep mind probe on myself.
Have you done that yet?
No, I don't know. I guess I did out there. I guess I don't know. I don't know what that was. I will find out one day.
I'm saying, have you ever done a deep mind probe on yourself yet?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, I've done them on other people.
You got to do it. You got to do it. Have you thought about doing it?
Well, now we're going to figure out what that voice was. It's going to be me doing a deep mind probe on myself, probably. But But you know, it's something that's pretty fascinating that we're able to do that kind of stuff. And either I got in a time machine and, you know, somehow transport myself in a portal or whatever, I don't know. Or there was some kind of psychic thing going on there of me in the future going back. I've seen myself remote viewing myself before.
See, you're talking. See, they're saying I keep picking up temporal fluctuations. They keep getting that. Okay, so you've been doing this stuff already. See, you might be. See, first of all, you're a damn Gemini, so it means you start practicing this stuff and doing this stuff, and it doesn't always have immediate result. There's a time lag. I was like that too. I would practice all these different stuff, these advanced techniques, and only the ones would I really fixate on that almost produced immediate third dimensional results. You know what I'm saying? If it didn't and it took too much time, I'm Gemini. I would jump to the next thing and get on it and be all about it. You know what I mean? But you're doing the same thing. So this stuff might be manifesting right now. You can't control it. You don't know. But it's just starting to happen.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I don't know nothing about nothing. It's all, but you know, it's kind of like all these things that happen to me just seem so natural, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm trying to do any of this stuff. It just happens. Like, I mess around with, you know, remote viewing myself and actually waking up at night. I'll explain to the audience what happened. I was actually in my bed. I lived in an apartment in Atlanta, near Atlanta. And I woke up one night and there were all these sparkly lights in the corner of my bedroom. And I thought, man, that's just weird. I figured it was like a ghost or something. You know, oh, it's just a ghost. I don't know what that is. And I went back to sleep. Well, you know, fast forward down the road, I was curious and I was like, well, you know, I'm going to remote view that person. I'm going to do like an HRV session basically. And I went in kind of deep and I, you know, almost, I think I was like laying in bed about to go to sleep and I decided to do like a little thing, you know, little remote viewing thing. And I realized at that point, that was actually me remote viewing myself at that moment back in the past, because that was me remote viewing myself. But see, I know it just doesn't make any sense to the normal person. It doesn't make sense to me either. But I realized at that moment that was me remote viewing myself in the future from the past. So yes, I have done that, and I've been doing that for a long time. So it's possible, y'all.
That's messing with timelines right there. And the true way, if we're going to do another way to do time travel, is within our own selves, within our own biofield.
Gosh, you know, I should have warned myself. Don't marry that a-hole. I'm just kidding. Don't marry that guy. He's no good.
Yeah, believe me, I would tell myself too, hey man, click your belt every time, brother. Every time you get in, click that button, man. You're gonna be the poster child.
I wish I had known.
Yeah. Yeah, so you know, it's interesting, you know, stuff like this. It's understanding that we're beings of awareness and, you know, creatures of awareness, and how much the universe flows through us. And we just respond to stimuli in that way. So, you know, these are things like, for me, I thought that all this weird stuff that was happening, like I was chasing after trying to figure out what the heck it was and what was going on. And I couldn't accept yet till I got older that this stuff has always been chasing me. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not always about us chasing our destiny. Sometimes our destiny chases us. Because believe me, if you'd have asked me, gosh, what has it been, 15 years ago now, if I would ever be publicly talking about any of this SHIT, there's like no way, man. I always said I was going to, but man, that was just nothing but a double bluff. I wasn't really going to do it. I was just, it was big talk, but I was never going to do it. It's not conducive to careers or anything, but creators saw it differently and took it a different way. So, you know, it is what it is.
Oh, man. The double bluff. Yeah, Barry. I mean, listen, back in the day, you and I would have been some of those people in those insane asylums, probably, or what do you call it, like a mental hospital, I guess. Wherever they were sending those time travelers, they would have put, shoot, we might be there right now. I don't know. We're time travelers, so we're here right now. Okay, I don't know. It's a weird conversation to have, especially in front of the entire world publicly. This is a weird conversation, but, you know, we're just at that. I think we're at that time. You know, we're here to have these forward-thinking conversations and put it out there, and just, you know, Let's talk about it. People are time traveling. I guess I've done it. I guess I didn't look at it like that, but
Well,
I think that's what time travel is.
We don't really understand what time technically is. And if you ask somebody what time is, they can't give you a definition. And even when you look at some things, we know one thing, it goes forward. We know that for sure. Our bodies are testimony to that. But when it comes to things like closed time-like curves and technology, the different ways that can be augmented, with what they're now calling what is quantum fluctuations and all these different things, and quantum entanglement and all these things. What can bridge quantum entanglement, tying that in with the Akashic records and the Makos, and all of it ties in. You know what I mean? It's very interesting. And I think that's where our science is definitely going forward. And sometimes, like when you see some of these craft, they're making these jumps through these Makos or these dimensional frequency changes right in front of us. For example, they suddenly are just there, then they're powering up. Okay, and then they're like, then they're super bright. You can see these things that they're going through these changes in density and in dimension right there in front of us. You know what I mean? And they disappear, they're gone. So it's a frequency jump without them moving anywhere, technically. And that's when you really are dealing with a different type of the bending of space and time around the craft and from within it also. I think it's some type of a gravitational lensing is what they call it. Our science calls it now. Gravitational and magnetic lensing.
Ooh. Anyway. I'm just learning more stuff every show, Gary.
It goes beyond my pay grade, but I'm trying to understand some of it.
I love it. I love learning about this stuff, and it's so, like I said, it's so natural to have had these experiences that I've had, and I never saw it as oh, I'm time traveling or something. It's like I'm just learning remote viewing, and I'm going to try this out, But anyways, that's how life goes. Inez, I want to say thank you to Inez for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, Inez. That's so sweet. Welcome to the Hunt Club. But I saw Jade Trunsiger said, remote viewing yourself, remote viewing yourself, remote viewing yourself. It's like, yes, that's what I'm doing. Okay. I will do that till the very end. I'm always going to remote view myself, remote viewing myself while I remote view myself. It's basically, it's crazy as it sounds. That's right. But yeah, well, this has been fantastic. I mean, I guess I've got a dog that just broke through the barrier over here, and I've got a kid that needs to go to bed. We got school. We're almost done with school, y'all. School is almost out for summer, by the way, and that means longer shows.
Kids are going to be
everywhere. Getting more sleep.
It's kind of like Christmas. I must find a way to stop it from coming.
Oh, yeah.
The Grinch of school's out right here.
Yeah, it's going to be long
year-round, don't you think? Year-round school.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's okay. I don't mind it. We all, he can use a break. I know. And school has not been. He's not. He's at that age where he's not super excited to be going to school right now, and he questions everything, including authority sometimes. And so it's been a year of character development. Let's just say for my kid, he's doing great, but it's still, he's a kid. He's ready to get out.
He's way above me because I started off that way, hating school, and I ended that way. All the way through, man. Never liked it, Yeah. It's weird because I like learning a lot. I never liked school. It's interesting, yeah.
David Pardue's in the chase said, I used to be crazy, but I'm a whole lot better now. David, you're still crazy. Okay. And it's awesome. Don't ever change. Oh, that is too funny. Yeah, y'all. Barry, I want to thank you so much for being here tonight and for giving me these targets. And we got to give some examples of a bunk, let's just say kind of bunk target there, where it probably was not real. Okay. And so we don't do that often because we don't get targets like that very often.
Hey, you
And
did get to go through all the information on the
I
squonk,
did.
right? Okay, make sure I
The
didn't
squonk.
go and start tripping
Yes.
out or something. All right, yeah,
Our
freaking
sad,
out.
crying squonk.
And if nothing else, I don't know. I think it's just, regardless of what it is, I think it's another one of those call to humanity. Call for compassion, call for understanding, and maybe a plain call for sympathy. You know what I mean? And it could be coming from Earth.
Yeah, call for sympathy and empathy and I don't know, more love, raising the vibrations, raising the vibrations. It's really sad. That is a manifestation of all the trauma and the sadness in this world. And to think that potentially those squonks were created by some lumberjacks that were having, guys out there working in the woods with very negative emotions and sadness and stuff. I mean, it makes me sad just looking at, pictures, drawings of these things.
Sometime it would be really interesting if we could get like a diary, a compact diary of lumberjacks since this country started, man. The stories they must have, my Lord. Talk about those that have seen the paranormal.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Buddy is going to recognize Barry's laugh when they meet. Buddy's going to know Barry's laugh. Yeah, Buddy, it's real quiet in here during shows.
Oh, that's your dog, right?
That's my dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, right on. I was like, who the
His
heck
tail
is
is wagging back
Buddy
there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, his name's Buddy. So, but anyways, okay. So the what was it called? The Albatwitch, and the squonk. The Albatwitch is the one that I could not get data for, y'all. I don't think that the data. I got some data, but it had nothing to do with that target. On 2 separate go rounds, the squonk 100%. I think that's 100% on target right there.
Yeah, that was impressive.
There's something to that.
Not impressed. I didn't expect that one at all. I thought that one was going to be a washout for sure, especially after the Albatwitch not or a strikeout. That was a strikeout. Oh man, I was sure the second would be the same, but it was anything but. So very cool. Thank you for doing it too on such short notice. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome, and thank you for giving me those. And we got to learn about egregores tonight and tulpas a little bit. We didn't really talk about tulpas that much, but just thought forms manifesting. And if we're learning anything tonight, learned that we are very powerful as humans. Our minds are very powerful, and we have to be careful about our thoughts. And what we put our attention into grows literally. Okay, and it can grow into a being. Okay, like it could grow into something that's like dare I say a monster, like for real. So just be careful, y'all, and it's not just be careful, be mindful, and knowing having this information, knowing that we can create and manifest things out of thin air. I know I can. Okay, I have created everything that I in my life is created out of nothing, basically, and go big and stay positive and put all your love into everything that you do every day, and that includes putting love into yourself, y'all. It starts there. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. That was another message from the Galactic Federation, Barry. Just kidding.
The Federation, the Fed Am. Okay.
It was the Galactic Federation speaking through me.
Okay. The G-Feds. I got you. I guess we got, what is it? K-Fed. Oh, that's Kevin Federline, right? That's sorry, Cat. And you got K-Fed and G-Fed, right? Galactic Federation. That's great. Maybe I'll get a shirt made. G-Fed.
Hillbilly hurts. I'm keeping my tulpas to myself.
No, I better quit because there's some serious that goes on with that now. I get it. And, the information is led that way, so I better stop my snickering.
Oh man. Well, this is David needs the lotto numbers. It doesn't work like that. Okay. It doesn't work like that. We've tried. I've actually helped find buried treasures and things like that. Actually, I really have, out of Mexico and stuff. Don't tell nobody. Okay, but anyways, hey, if you would like to split the earnings with me, I will do some remote viewing. If anybody's a treasure hunter, y'all holler at me. Okay, but you got to split the earnings with me.
You know what I heard?
What's that?
I heard the cartel was putting crystal artifacts in the ground for tourists to dig up and think that they found like ancient artifacts. That's what I've heard that a few times. I wonder if that's true or not.
It's true. I've heard that. I heard that years ago. Actually, that is not anything new.
What?
I heard that years ago. I had somebody tell me that years ago. I might have told you that.
I'm sorry. I've seen some artifacts that are well, they're pretty questionable. Anyway, we won't go there, man.
Well, anyways, on that note, Barry, where can everybody find you?
Probably after this one, probably HE double hockey sticks. Trying to wish I had a cold shower. No, I'm just kidding. You can reach me at barrylittleton13@gmail.com for any services. I do hypnosis. I also do readings, but hypnosis is kind of what I'm preferring to do right now. It's much more enriching for the client. I do past life regressions, earthbound spirit release, ET regressions, weight loss, smoking, stop smoking, trauma release, things like that. I'm on YouTube under Barry Littleton. Please come over and subscribe. I'm on Patreon and also on Facebook and Instagram, all under Barry Littleton.
Amazing. And this is where you guys can contact Barry, barrylittleton13@gmail.com. And man, I really enjoyed the show. I always enjoy all of our shows. I don't think I've ever had one that I didn't enjoy too much. Okay, so
they're always fun.
Yeah,
I really needed it too because I've been stressed out. So thank you. This was a great release and great getting away for a few hours. So thank you.
Yes, this is all for entertainment purposes only. Just kidding. I just saw that banner. I had to put it up. I don't think I've said that this whole show, but some topics we don't have to say that as often, so. But this has been great, y'all. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank y'all so much for all the support. And for everybody who became a member of the Hunt Club tonight and stuff, that was so cool. And I want to thank Larry Sharp for being a member for 25 months. You're the man, Larry.
Oh, that's cool.
Appreciate you. And Bobby Singleton, thank you for being a member for 4 months and for gifting 5 Cryptid Hunters memberships. And Moon at Noon, thank you so much for the super sticker. Nathan Davis, thank you so much. Angelique, thank you so much. Inez, thank you for becoming a member of the Hunt Club. And Firewater by Design, thank you so much for gifting the Cryptid Hunters membership tonight. So yeah, I guess I will be back here on Saturday night. I'm not 100% sure, but we're gonna have a great guest no matter what. Okay, but I got somebody that's been in our chat a couple times. It's gonna probably be coming on. I asked him to come on Saturday. I will announce it when I get confirmation. Okay, it's gonna be a really good show. Okay, but Barry, are you gonna be live this weekend?
I'm gonna try to go live Sunday, and I'll tell you, I can disclose it here. I want to talk about that 8-pointed star that came out on the UFO release things. I mean, it probably won't be a super long one because I've talked about some of it before, but I think it's just necessary to put certain correlations together. You know what I mean? Because I've not seen one show up like that yet. And believe me, I've been waiting.
Because you're looking for Superman, right? Isn't that what Superman came into Earth in?
No, that's not. Although there's a similar that looks. I'm always looking for something that looks like what I experienced, but it just happens to be that Superman movie. But if anyone looks at that one Return of Krypton missing scene on YouTube, Return to Krypton, that part of that Superman Returns movie, you'll see something that looks like this. He's standing in it. What's even more interesting is how he stops the living crystals with his hands, and you can see the light in them. Somebody that made that is a contactee experiencer. They had to have seen it. I have. You know what I mean? It's just stuff like that, really. And plus, that movie was terrible. So why on earth would you remove that scene? That movie was terrible. Remember they beat him down, stabbed him. They beat him down like he was Yehoshua, and then they stabbed him with the kryptonite and threw him off the cliff. It was horrible. Anyway.
Well, I'm glad. Well, you know, and I highly recommend you do that show because I want to be there to hear that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there moderating. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate your help on that.
Of course, y'all. Well, please. Oh yeah, before everybody leaves tonight, y'all, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Barry's channel over on Barry Littleton at YouTube, and come follow me over on Rumble, podcasting platforms, X, Instagram, Facebook, all that. Y'all can find me. It's all on my website, thecryptidhuntress.com. Subscribe, like the video if you guys enjoyed our video tonight, and give us a hype. Hit the little hype button. I think you can only do it on your cell phone. But I don't know. But anyways, hype the video. It helps get this information out. I think this was great information tonight, and it's stuff that I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about when it comes to these egregores and stuff, and the squonks and the Albatwitches. Okay, well, y'all have a wonderful night, everybody. Please stay safe out there. Keep your vibrations high, y'all, just like Miss Jane always says. And I'm sending all my love and light out to y'all, and I will see y'all back here on Saturday. All right, Barry. Y'all have a great night.
Hey,
bye.